Hey guys, what's up? Hope everyone's having a great day. Okay, so today we're looking at the deposition of Melanie Inglessis. Now, Melanie was Ambi Pants's makeup artist. I'm really interested to what she has to say and what we missed in the Depp v. Heard VA trial. So this was done on February 2nd, 2021. Let's see who we got. We got Camille, Stephanie, only Camille and Stephanie. Okay, and then we have Ben Chu is here as well. And then we have Elaine, just Laney, it looks like. Okay. Oh, and look at that. Also, Ambi Pants. Ambi Pants. Of course she did. Is anyone surprised? I am not. Okay. Let's get into this. Okay, so it goes straight in. Laney is asking the questions. Will you please state your name and address for the record? My name is Melanie Inglessis. My address is none of anyone's business. Okay, question. And Miss Inglessis, what is your occupation? I'm a makeup artist. And in fact, you're a professional makeup artist, correct? Correct. And you obtained a Bachelor of Arts from London College of Fashion in 2000? Objection leading. Camille. Question. Okay, I'll re-ask it. Where did you obtain your Bachelor of Arts? Melanie. From London College Fashion in London. And in what year? Melanie, around 2000. Okay, thank you. When did you first meet Amber Heard? Melanie, April of 2015. And what was the occasion? Melanie, Tribeca Film Festival in New York. And were you providing makeup services for her at that occasion? Melanie, correct. Okay, and did you become friends with Amber after that? Melanie, I did. Okay, and did you have opportunities to visit Amber at the penthouses that she lived in the Eastern Columbia building? Melanie, yeah. Camille, objection vague and ambiguous as to time. Elaine, during 2015? Melanie, yes. Okay, when did you first meet Mr. Depp? Melanie, I don't exactly recall the date, but I would think within maybe the end of 2015. Okay, now you saw Mr. Depp on a number of occasions when you visited Amber Heard at the penthouses, is that correct? Melanie, yep. And it would be fair to state that on at least one occasion, Mr. Depp was intoxicated and passed out. Camille, objection, compound, leading, lack of foundation, assumes facts not on evidence. Elaine, I'll restate the question. On any occasion that you were visiting Amber Heard at the penthouses, did Mr. Depp appear to be passed out? Melanie, am I answering? Elaine, yes. Melanie, okay. Yeah, I'm not at a penthouse, no. Not correct, no. She said, I saw, no, not at the penthouse, no, in his other house at the main house. Elaine, the Sweetser? Melanie, in the Sweetser, that's correct. Elaine, that's the Sweetser home. Melanie, yeah. Okay, and what did you see then? Melanie, Mr. Depp passed out. Do you recall whether there was any doctor or nurse that was visiting Mr. Depp on one of the occasions that you were there? Melanie, I don't know. Camille, objection, compound, assumes facts not on evidence, lack of foundation, calls for speculation. Elaine, I'm sorry, did you answer? Melanie, I don't recall, no. Okay, did you ever meet Dr. Kipper? Melanie, no. I guess she has some objections there, so because Camille objected, foundation and leading. Now, you were answering. I guess you have given your answer again. I'm sorry. Melanie, no. Okay, all right. So were there any occasions that you observed Mr. Depp acting in an angry manner? Melanie, no. Camille, objection, vague and ambiguous. Sorry. And then she goes on just to say, give me 2 seconds. Then Camille said, I'm sorry, Elaine, do you mind repeating the question or having read it back? Elaine, go ahead, April. You want to read it back? Court reporter, of course. They read it back. Camille is right. The objection is vague and ambiguous, lack of foundation. Melanie, no. So what the hell was the question? Acting in an angry manner. No. We got there. No. Elaine, Alex, I'm going to ask you to bring up exhibit number 6. And Camille, counsel, I'm just going to object to you showing this video clip that has been shown several times in the media and otherwise. She was not present on this occasion and lack of foundation and hearsay and assumes facts not on evidence. I'm sure you're going to play it for her anyways. Elaine, Alex, can you please play the video? And the video was played. I'm assuming it was kitchen video, the thing that Elaine loves the most. Other than the UK trial, Lainey loves her a kitchen video. Question, Miss Inglessis, do you recognize the 2 people in that video? Melanie, yes. And who are they? Melanie, yes, Amber Heard. Question, and who are they? Melanie, and Johnny Depp. Okay, did you ever see Mr. Depp act in that manner around you? Melanie, no. Does it surprise you? Melanie, I don't know. I mean, it's not any, I don't know. Okay, do you recall talking with Miss Heard about Mr. Depp abusing her? Camille, objection, lack of foundation, assumes facts and not evidence, vague and ambiguous as to time. Elaine, let me finish my question. Camille, sorry, Elaine. I'll start again. Camille, I'm sorry, I apologize, Elaine. I'm not trying to cut you off. Lainey's like, okay. Did you ever, during the time that Amber Heard was married to Mr. Depp and you were friends with Amber, did she ever discuss with you any abuse by Mr. Depp of her? Camille, objection, assumes facts and not evidence, calls for hearsay, lack of foundation, vague and ambiguous. Melanie, yes. What do you recall? Melanie, what do I recall? I mean, do you want to ask me more precise questions? I'm just not sure what you want me to tell you. Elaine, I'm trying to be careful not to ask leading questions. Melanie, okay. Because I'm not allowed to ask leading questions. So that's why I've inserted little, in between there. So let me see if I can. What, if anything, do you recall about Amber Heard telling you that she was being abused by Mr. Depp? Camille, objection, assumes facts and not evidence, calls for hearsay, lack of foundation, it's vague and ambiguous and uncompound. Melanie, there was many occasions throughout the time I've known Amber where she confided in me about the abuse that she faced. Okay, and what, if anything, did Amber say about trying to get out of the marriage and leaving the relationship as a result of the abuse? Melanie, can you rephrase the question, please? Yes, I will try. During the many conversations that you had with Miss Heard about Mr. Depp abusing her and her confiding in you, what, if anything, did Miss Heard say about wanting to leave the relationship or trying to fix or how she was handling it? Melanie, I don't know what to say. I don't know. I don't know how to answer this. I just wish you asked me the questions that would be a yes or no. I just don't want to start talking and making like, I just need for you to give me a little more, I just don't know how to answer that question. I'm sorry. She thought she was going to be fed answers, did she? Quite possibly, only allegedly, because I'm making it up, but man, okay. Elaine, okay, and just let me explain to you, Miss Inglessis, I would love to ask you questions that just let you say yes or no, but that's what lawyers call leading, and you hear one of Miss Vasquez's objections as if I ask a leading question, so I can't imply or infer that a question is going to be a yes or no. So I'm trying very carefully I understand, and I'm trying not to make it confusing. Melanie, right. So I'm just doing my best to balance that. So please bear with me, and I'll do my best on this. In these occasions that Amber Heard told you about Mr. Depp abusing her, what, if anything, did she say about being conflicted and being in love with him, but not being able to deal with the abuse? Melanie, I mean, throughout her relationship, she was in love with him and she tried to leave him many times, but couldn't. I don't know. I just mean, I'm confused because I thought a deposition was just a matter of me answering yes or no to questions. And I just don't want to start speculating and telling stories. I'm just a little confused. I thought it was a yes or no, or I don't know. I don't recall. I just don't want to start. Elaine, no, yeah, I understand that. Melanie, I just don't know what to say. I don't know how to lead. I don't know, but yeah. Okay, well, let's try this again. Yeah, I don't know. Elaine, yeah, and I'm sorry. I totally understand that you haven't done this before, so you don't realize that. Melanie, no. But we have rules so that we don't manipulate or try to do so. It doesn't look like we're manipulating your testimony by trying to force you to say yes or no. You understand? So there's a balance there, and that's why they have certain rules. So we have to ask you in the right manner. So I'll do my best, and I'm going to try and move it as quickly as I can. Okay? Melanie, right. Well, I mean, for my relationship with Amber, on my friendship with Amber for the last, when we were friends for 3 years, I felt she was in an abusive relationship. She was in love with Johnny and she tried to leave him, but just couldn't. Elaine, okay. So let me ask you this. When is the first time that you actually observed any signs of Amber Heard being physically abused by Johnny Depp? Melanie, the first time I witnessed Amber's physical bruises was the day of the James Corden show. Convenient. Okay, and sorry, that convenient was just me putting that in there. Elaine, okay, and that was, I'm sorry. Melanie, that was the day I witnessed bruises on her face. Okay, and that was December 15th, 2015. Does that ring a bell? Melanie, correct. December 15th, 2015, correct. And were you supposed to, that particular night, were you supposed to meet up with Amber someplace? Melanie, the night before. The night before, we were supposed to go bowling. So I think December 14th, we had made a plan for Amber to come to my neighborhood to go bowling with myself and my husband, correct? And then she never showed up. And then I got a text where I know you guys have around like maybe 9:30, 10 o'clock, explaining why she never made it to the bowling that night. That was the night before James Cordon, if I recall properly. Elaine, okay. And then what did you do when you received the text from Amber Heard? Melanie, when I received the text from Amber, I asked her if she was okay, asked her if I should come see her straight away at the penthouse. Yeah, which is true, she did. And then did you go to the penthouse that night? Melanie, not that, I don't recall. Oh God, let me just think. It was a while. It was a long time ago. Elaine, yeah. Well, let me do this. Let me bring up, Alex, if you can bring up exhibit number 7, Miss Inglessis. I'm going to show you what has been marked as exhibit 7. Do you recognize what's depicted in this photograph? Melanie, yes. What do you recall? Melanie, I recall seeing this on the kitchen of the penthouse. When you enter, they have a bar, a kitchenette in the left, and that was there. Yeah. Elaine, and does that help refresh your recollection on whether it was that night or the next day that you were there? Melanie, not really. Not really. I'm sorry. Elaine, okay, but when you came to the penthouse after Amber had texted you, whether it was that night or the next day, you saw in the kitchen, is that correct? Painted? Melanie, yes. Okay, and could you just describe the color? Melanie, what color? Let me just finish my question. Can you describe the color of the writing? Melanie, gold. Okay, Melanie, it's gold. All I asked her, okay, so Camille had an objection, assumes facts are not evidence. Elaine, I asked her what the color of the writing was. Camille, it assumes that there was writing in that picture and a bunch of other assumptions. Elaine, okay, Miss Inglessis, can you read the writing that's in the picture? Melanie, why be a fraud? All is such bullshit. Johnny had no idea how right he was. Okay. Elaine, do you know who wrote that? Melanie, I don't know. No. Okay, but it was there. And can you just describe where this was in the penthouse, this writing, this picture? Melanie, when you enter the penthouse, you have a little corridor and then you turn left to the main kitchen and the main room. And to the left, there's like a little bar. It was there to the left. So basically on a kitchen counter. Okay, all right. And does this picture accurately depict what you saw? Melanie, I don't know what you're asking. What I'm asking is, does this picture accurately portray what you saw? In other words, is it what you recall seeing, or is that there has been something wrong with the picture, or it looks like it's been altered, anything like that? Melanie, it does. It does fit with what I remember that day. It was writing. Elaine, okay, thank you. Alex, if you can take that down, and if you can bring up exhibit number 4. Miss Inglessis, you provided testimony in the United Kingdom proceedings in which Mr. Depp brought a lawsuit against the Sun newspaper and Mr. Wooten, the editor-in-chief. Do you recall that? Melanie, yep. Okay, and do you recall that testimony was on July 22nd, 2020? Melanie, yes. All right, I'm going to ask you to take a look. Elaine, and Alex, I guess I will just take control. That might be easier. I'm going to go down to page 1980 because that's where it starts. And forgive me for a minute. Sometimes it goes a little crazy when you're trying to do it. Now here's where you remember Sasha Wass, the Queen's counsel for Sun, asked you some questions? Melanie, yes. And you had said, she said, question, can you tell us what you saw in Amber's face that day? Melanie, yes. Question, on that occasion, and you said, answer, there you go. Oh, shit. She's a mess. Answer, so on December 2015, it was the day before the James Cordon show. Melanie, Answer, which was December 16th. I'm having a little trouble exactly remembering the December 15 event. I'm going to tell you what I remember. I was supposed to go bowling. My husband and I were supposed to go bowling with Amber by my husband. Melanie, Answer, and I believe around 8:30 or 9, and she never showed up. I went back home. She did send a text around 10:30, which I'm sure you have in your file somewhere, which is what you said. Melanie, Answer, and I asked her if she was okay, and she said, no, not really. Johnny came around to talk, and we had a fight, and he beat on me, and so on and so forth. And so I said, do you need me to come? And she said, yes. So I came to the penthouse on December 15th. Does that help refresh your recollection as to whether you went over that night? Melanie, yes. Now, I'm going to pause right there because there was huge discrepancies whether Melanie actually showed up because Rocky said she wasn't there. And when we finally got Amber on the stand, Amber said she wasn't there. But in her first witness statement, she said Melanie was there. It was a huge clusterfuck of was Melanie there or not. We move forward. Okay, and then the next question she said, question, what did you see when you came to the house? Answer, you said, well, a couple of things that I remember entering penthouse 5, not 3, which I do believe is the penthouse where they live together. You enter, you have a small corridor, and to the left, you turn left, the kitchen was there and the kitchen counters. So a couple of things that I do remember is the writing in gold paint or gold marker on the left, a couple of broken frames, glass on the floor, and damage on the bed upstairs. Do you recall that? Melanie, yes. Okay, and does that help refresh your recollection? Melanie, yes. I'm good. Oh, so you need to answer again. Okay, so she just said yes, yes. Elaine, okay. And do you recall being there that evening? Melanie, I do recall being there. You know, my only concern with all of this is that was it the day before or during another incident? But it says, if my text said that I was there the night before, then I was there the night before. Okay. And that's what you testified under oath at that time. Did you remember it better then than you do now? Do you think? Melanie, I mean, it's just not really. It's all the same. Elaine, okay. Melanie, you know what I mean? It's like, Elaine, I understand. Okay. Alex, Melanie, you know what I mean? It's very important for other people. It's not that important to me. So it is yes. I was there the night before, if it says so, if my text says so. If my testimony says so, then I was there the night before. Correct. Elaine, okay, thank you very much. Alex, can you take this down and bring up number 8? Miss Inglessis, I'm going to ask you to take a look at exhibit number 8. Do you recall seeing the damage that night on December 15th, 2015? Melanie, I don't recall. But you did recall that there was some other damage to property that night, correct? Melanie, correct. Thank you. Okay, do you recall any of the specifics of the property that was damaged? Melanie, I don't recall. All right, Alex, can you bring up number 9, please? Miss Inglessis, I'm going to ask you to take a look at what's been marked as deposition exhibit number 9. Do you recognize what is depicted in this photo? Melanie, well, it's a bed, it looks like. I mean, it's a very tight picture of the bed, but it's a bed. Elaine, and do you recall seeing this the night of December 15th with the broken part of the bed frame? Melanie, upstairs? Yes. Okay, and when you say upstairs, what do you mean? Melanie, well, their bedroom was upstairs. It wasn't their bedroom. It was the bedroom at penthouse 4. Melanie, there's a downstairs and an upstairs. Elaine, okay, and the downstairs had the kitchen with the writing. Do you remember what the other property that you saw was? Was that downstairs or upstairs? Camille, objection, vague, ambiguous, assumes facts, not evidence, calls for speculation. Elaine, I'm sorry, I wasn't quite finished. The property that was damaged, was that upstairs or downstairs? Camille, same objection. Melanie, downstairs. And then at some point you went upstairs and saw the bed, is that correct? Objection, leading. Elaine, all right, at some point did you see the bed? Camille, same objection. All right, what, if anything, did you see with relationship to a bed as it being broken? Camille, vague and ambiguous as to time. Melanie, I'm sorry, what's the final question? Elaine, what, if anything, did you see in the penthouse that evening about relating to a broken bed? Melanie, look, do I answer or I don't answer? Elaine, you still answer. Melanie, so I remember the bed upstairs because Amber talked through what happened. If I recall properly, it was me and Rocky, and she talked through us and what happened. So we were upstairs while she told us what happened. Elaine, what do you recall Amber Heard telling you about what happened that night on December 15th, 2015? Melanie, she said that they had a bad fight. She said that she was scared for her life. She said that he tried, really a couple of things that stick in my mind, that he tried to suffocate her with a pillow, and she said that she thought she was going to unalive. That's really the thing that stuck into my mind, is the thing with the pillow. Elaine, what, if anything, do you recall about Amber talking about being dragged across the room by her hair? Melanie, Amber described the fight. There was some hair dragging, and that I remember specifically because we did hair and makeup the night after, and I remember more about the night of the James Corden show that I remember the night before. Elaine, okay, thank you. There's two pictures here, I think, on this particular exhibit, so I'm just going to show you both of them. They're very similar, but do you recall seeing, did the bed look something like this with the broken area on it? Melanie, I don't recall. Okay, do you recall that there was something broken on the bed, that something was wrong with the bed? Melanie, I recall some damage, yes. I don't recall exactly what damages. All right, and just so I'm clear, you recall damage to the bed, is that correct? Melanie, correct. Elaine, Alex, can you take that down, please, and bring up number 10? While he's doing that, Miss Inglessis, what do you recall observing on Amber Heard that night? Melanie, of what night? Oh my God. On the evening of December 15th, 2015, what do you recall observing about Amber Heard on her physical appearance? Melanie, I do not recall. I do not recall any injuries that night. Interesting. I thought it looked like she had a headbutt, Melanie. Oh shit. All right, question. Okay, I'm gonna ask you to look at what has been raised here as exhibit number 10. Do you recognize this photo? Melanie, what do you mean? Just repeat the question. Do you remember seeing a clump of hair on the carpet the night of December 15th at Amber Heard's penthouse? Melanie, no. Take this one down. And Alex, if you could ask number 4 again. Okay. Now so how long did you stay at the penthouse on the evening of December 15th? Melanie, I don't recall. Okay. And then you came back on the evening, or you came back on December 16th. Is that correct? Melanie, correct. On December 16th, 2015, did you return to Amber Heard's penthouse? Melanie, yes. Thank you. And why did you come to Amber Heard's penthouse on December 16th? Melanie, it was the James Cordone show and she had an appearance. So I came back to work. Okay, and what do you recall discussing? What do you recall any discussions with Amber about whether she should even go on the show? Melanie, yes. What do you recall? Melanie, so basically the morning of the James show, so how things work in my job is I get a call, I get booked, and then I get a call from an agent, and then I get what we call a call sheet, which means basically I have to be at my client's house at a certain time to do my job. The morning, obviously, I knew what had happened the night before, but I remember the morning of December 16th where my agent called me and said, well, that might be canceled. The show tonight might be canceled. Back and forth, see if she was going to attend or not. Obviously, I was preview of what happened, so I wasn't surprised. So it wasn't surprise to me. But we, emailed back and forth with my agent, and I'm assuming with Amber's publicist to see if she's decided to attend the James Cordone show. Eventually, she did decide to attend, so I went to the penthouse to do the makeup. Wow. Elaine, okay, and when you arrived at the penthouse on December 16th, please describe for me what you observed about Amber Heard's face and any injuries. Melanie, when I came to the penthouse on December 16th to do Amber's makeup, she had injuries. She had two I don't know. I mean, I'm not a medical expert. I don't know how I would best describe them, but it could have looked like somebody had head-butted her lightly. So she had discoloration here under both eyes and the bridge of the nose. And she had what we call a split lip or something on her lip, like a gash or a split lip. Now, why on earth would Melanie mention a headbutt? If you saw someone with a bruise on it, would you turn around and say, well, fuck me, it looks like you got headbutted? No, this is all Amber's wording. Headbutted, split lip, all Amber's wording. Oh my God. Elaine, okay, I'm going to ask you, Alex, if you can take down number 4 and put up number 11. Miss Inglessis, I'm going to ask you to look at what has been marked as exhibit number 11. Do you recognize this photo as being Amber Heard's head? Melanie, yes. Okay, and could you please describe for me what this photo is showing? Melanie, it's showing a chunk of missing hair. Okay, and what, if anything, did you observe on December 16th about Amber Heard's missing chunk of hair? Melanie, well, what I remember is we did, myself, the hairdresser, Adir. We never heard from Adir at all. Never once heard. Something would have told me that, he would have been a great person to come in and say that clump of hair couldn't have come from her head. Yes, she had a missing clump. No, she didn't have a missing clump. Dear Lord. Okay, well, we talked. Okay, so, I remember is what I did for the hairdresser, Adil and Amber. We talked about it. So we did makeup. Amber, obviously, I was a preview of what happened, but the hairdresser wasn't. So she described what happened to the hairdresser. She's just telling everybody. So why aren't we hearing from the hairdresser? And I remember this because she showed it to us, and I looked at the head. Adair was doing the makeup, and we talked about the chunk of hair missing on top of her head. It wasn't a lot. It's not like she was going out bald on the goddamn show. It was nothing. Oh my God. Okay. Sorry. I just got really, really fired up there. Okay, on top of her head and how it happened. Elaine, okay, thank you. Thank you very much. And I'm going to, Alex, if you can take that down and put up number 12. Miss Inglessis, I'm going to ask you to take a look at what has been marked as exhibit number 12. Do you recognize that that as Amber Heard in the picture? Melanie, yes. Okay, and can you describe what is depicted right along her scalp there? Melanie, I don't know. Do you recall that there was some bruising along the scalp and some pus, for lack of a better word? Melanie, I don't recall. Do you recall whether you had to do anything by way of makeup to cover this area that is depicted here on Exhibit 12? Melanie, I don't recall. Okay, would typically you deal with that in makeup, or would that be hairstylists that deal with that part? Melanie, I mean, it's in the hairline. Typically it would be the hairdresser. It's in the hairline. I mean, I wouldn't put makeup there. I mean, I don't recall, but I wouldn't put makeup there on a hairline anyway. Elaine, okay, that's fair. Thank you. All right, let's go to exhibit number 14. Miss Inglessis, I'm going to ask you to take a look at what's been marked as exhibit number 14. Do you recognize the person in this photo? Melanie, yes. Who is it? Melanie, why, that's Amber Heard. Okay, and you were just described what you saw on the 16th with respect to Amber Heard's injuries. Does this accurately depict what you saw on Amber Heard on December 16th, 2015? Melanie, yes. Okay, and then I'm going to put up number 15. Miss Inglessis, I'm going to ask you to take a look at what has been marked as exhibit 16. Again, do you recognize the person in this photo? Melanie, yes. And who is it? Melanie, why, that's Amber Heard. Okay, and does this picture reflect the injuries that you saw in Amber Heard on December 16th, 2015? Melanie, yes. Okay, and then I'm going to ask you to take a look at one more of those, and that's exhibit number 17. And I'm going to ask again, Miss Inglessis, do you recognize the person in this picture? And I'm going to try to move it along. Is it Amber Heard? Melanie, yes. Okay, and does this reflect what you saw as well on December 16th, 2015? Melanie, I mean, there's three different pictures with very different lighting, but yes. Okay, all right, thank you. Now, do you still recall there being an injury to Amber on Amber Heard's lip? Melanie, correct. Okay, let's look at number 19. And Miss Inglessis, I'm going to ask you to take a look at exhibit number 19. And do you recognize the person in this photograph as Amber Heard? Melanie, yes. And does this picture accurately reflect what you saw in Amber Heard on December 16th, 2015? Melanie, yes. Okay, I'm going to have you take a look at one more of those. I'm almost done. Number 20. I'm going to ask you again, Miss Inglessis, if you can take a look at exhibit number 20. And can you recognize this as Amber Heard in this picture? Melanie, I don't know. Okay, well, I'll tell you what then. What we'll do, that's fair. So let's take this one down, Alex. Miss Inglessis, could you please describe what you did by way of makeup to prepare Amber Heard for the James Cordone show on December 16th, 2015? Melanie, why, yes, we covered, I just did makeup, but just a little heavier the way I did it. So we covered, the discoloration or the bruises with a little slightly heavier concealer, one that has a little more peach undertone, which I would normally don't use on Amber, but peach do cancel blue. So I did that under the eyes. And although Amber always, has a red lip, it's one of her signature looks. I remember clearly talking that we had no other option that night, but then to use a red blood, like a really red lipstick to, make sure we could cover up the injuries on the lip. Elaine, and were you able to cover all the injuries with makeup that you applied and as you just described? Melanie, yes. Okay, I'm going to ask you to take a look at exhibit number 22. Do you recognize Amber Heard in this picture? Melanie, why, yes. Okay, and is this the picture of her that evening, December 16th, 2015 on the show? Melanie, yes. Okay, I think you did a pretty good job on that makeup, by the way. Yeah, because you can't see shit. Melanie, thank you. And did you have an occasion to watch the show that night while Amber was on there? Melanie, yes. Okay, and how would you describe Amber on that show? vague and ambiguous. Elaine said that's fair. Let me ask it a different way. When Amber performed on the show, was it your perception that Amber, quote, turned it on, end of quote, for the show? Camille, objection. Objection leading assumes facts and not evidence. It's vague. Elaine, that's fair. I need to rephrase that one. Melanie, yes. What, if anything, did you observe on the difference in Amber Heard's demeanor before the show and then on the show? Melanie, do I answer? Yes. She's like, yeah, you answer. Melanie, she had the ability to, turn it on, that she, the ability to just do her job and perform how she was supposed to perform on the show. Elaine, and prior to Amber going on the show and while you were working with her on her makeup, how would you describe Amber's mood and demeanor? Melanie, angry, sad, a little erratic. I think throughout waves of emotions, Okay, thank you. Is there anything else you recall from that day, December 16th, relating to the makeup, the hair? Anything about that sticks out to you? Melanie, nah. Camille, objection, compound, vague, and ambiguous. Melanie, you know what I mentioned earlier. Nothing more to that. Okay. Do you recall whether Savannah McMillan, let me ask that differently. Do you recall someone named Samantha McMillan having any role in helping to prepare Amber Heard for James Corden the night of December 16th? Melanie, yeah. What do you recall? Melanie, Savannah was a stylist. What? I think they're talking about Samantha. Samantha McMillan was her stylist. Oh, I'm so confused. I am so confused because Savannah was her assistant and Samantha was her stylist. And Samantha said she didn't see shit. Oh, Elaine. Okay. Let's start this again. Savannah was a stylist. Savannah is Samantha. Savannah was there the day of James Corden, as she was always there to get her ready before an appearance or show. Okay, and did Savannah work on Amber before or after you were applying the makeup? Melanie, I don't know if she worked on Amber, but when I entered the penthouse 5, Savannah was there with Amber. So Savannah was there before I entered the house to the penthouse. Now, Amber said that Samantha, the stylist, would have never seen her without makeup because she always got there later. And here is Melanie, Amber's star fucking witness, saying that Samantha was there first. Oh my God. Elaine, okay, and do you recall whether Samantha was hugging Amber when you came in? Melanie, I recall opening the penthouse. So there was 2 penthouses. There's a penthouse where she gets ready. So Amber had a penthouse where Savannah gets her ready, where all Amber's clothes is. If I recall properly, that's a penthouse that I entered first, just to say hi before I would go set up in the other penthouse. And my recollection is, too, when I entered, Amber was crying, looking pretty upset on Savannah's shoulder, or they were like, I don't know if hugging is the right way, but they definitely had a moment where they were together and Amber looked really upset. Elaine, okay, thank you. Now, you continued to be Amber's friend into 2016, correct? After this happened? Melanie, correct. Okay, and did there come a time in May of 2016 that you were communicating with Amber by text? Melanie, I couldn't remember. We had text all that year. Okay. Alex, can you break up number 24, please? Camille, Elaine, I don't want to interrupt your flow, but I would appreciate a 5-minute break at some point in the near future. Elaine, we can do that now. Miss Inglessis, would you like to take a break too? You're feeling you want to take a 5-minute, 10-minute. I don't have a lot left, so that's a good thing, okay? But all right, let's go ahead and you can do a 10-minute break. Oh my God, Elaine, just fucking take the break. Camille, sure, 10 minutes. Okay, so they're off the record. Now they're back on the record. Elaine, Miss Inglessis, I'm going to ask just a couple more questions about the makeup you applied on Amber on December 16th, 2015 for the show. I think you said that you applied some concealer and you had some peach undertones with it to cancel out some blue. Did I hear you correctly? Melanie said yes, but she nodded her head. Okay. I wrote down that you said you had applied on Amber concealer. You had some peach undertones to cancel blue. Is that what you said? Melanie, correct. So what type, I have to correct the leading objection here. So what type of concealer did you apply to Amber? And if you used different color tones, can you please describe why you used the color tones you did? Melanie, I used different kinds of concealer that I wouldn't normally use on Amber, which I used a concealer that had a peach undertone. Peach undertone concealers are more effective to cover any darkness of blue undertone than a normal concealer. Elaine, do you know what type of makeup Amber Heard typically wore? Melanie, yes. Can you please describe it for me? Melanie, yes, she's pretty natural. She has a concealer from a company called, or she used to have a concealer from a company called Clou de Peau. Her makeup would be pretty simple concealer and a little benefit tint that she used on her lips and she used on her cheeks. Very, very, then there was electronic interference, so we don't know what the fuck she said. Did they catch it? Very natural. She said it was just very natural. Elaine, okay. It had a natural look to it, correct? Melanie, correct. Okay, but did she wear concealer and what would you describe, correct? Melanie, do you mean in her daily life or that night? Elaine, in her daily life. Melanie, yes, she had a concealer that she uses all the time. She has a couple of products that she uses all the time, daily, yes. Well, and daily, yes, as far as I know. Okay, now, did you have an occasion to see Amber in the days after December 16th to see what she did to cover up the bruises on the 17th, 18th, and 19th and thereabouts? Melanie, no. Okay, did you have any conversations with Amber Heard about the different types of color tones to use to cover up darker spots or bruises or swelling, things of that nature? Melanie, not that I can recall. Okay, that's fair. Was Savannah McMillan, did she accompany Amber to the James Corden show? Melanie, I don't think so. I don't recall, but I don't think so. I don't remember. I don't think so. No. I don't recall. Did you ever have any conversations with Savannah McMillan about that night? Have I lost my mind that it's Samantha and not Savannah? And here's the thing. Amber is there. Amber is not correcting. And they had a goddamn break. Amber is not correcting her. So am I losing my mind? But also, let's not forget that Amber let her lawyer say Amica cream throughout that entire trial and never corrected her that it was arnica. Never once corrected her. She let her lawyer sit up there looking like a fool. So she's not going to correct her. Or am I wrong? Fuck, am I wrong? I'm losing my mind at this point, as I just did the whole Savannah and the Homeland Security video like 2 minutes ago. So I'm all confused. Okay, anyway. Oh. So Melanie said yes, she does remember. I recall specifically a phone call that Savannah and I knew each other from the industry we in, and I remember her calling me or texting me, asking me to call her straight away, and I did. And she said to me that Johnny's lawyers would like to talk to me and if I could give them a call. And I remember having this conversation either maybe both via text and also on the phone about this back and forth of what happened and how we both have very different memory of that day and how my recollection of that conversation is me telling Savannah, like, I don't understand what happened. You were there. I don't understand. And her saying her version of the story, my having said mine. And I think we both agreed to we had two different versions of that day. That was that. But I remember, I don't know if you have those texts and my conversation being quite not understanding that she didn't see what I saw that day. And how is that possible? Because she was there and I would never lie. I would not do that. And I didn't understand how we could both have very different versions of that day. Thank you. And do you feel confident in what you described that you saw the day of Amber Heard's injuries on December 16th, 2015? Melanie, 1,000%. All right. Thank you. Melanie, without a doubt. Thank you. Now, Alex, can you put up number 24? I'm going to show you, Miss Inglessis, what has been marked as deposition exhibit number 24. And this is dated February 22nd. But I think the date is off. Do you remember Amber Heard speaking with you on or texting with you on May 21st, 2016? Melanie. So there are two dates that I wasn't sure if I came over or not because those are the two main incidents that I remember. An incident in May and an incident in December. And I wasn't sure which day I did or did not come. So obviously this is the date that she told me not to come. Do I remember the exact date? The date? No, but I remember those texts, correct? Okay. And the first part of this says, no, Johnny came over to talk. His mom just died. Then he went sideways, convinced of some crazy shit. Beat on me, cops were called, they just left. Filing a restraining order, divorce goes through on Monday. My face looks stupid and swollen. Bad night. Do you see that? Amber, we saw your face at 8:23 that night, and actually, people saw you. They did not think your face looked stupid. They did not think so. So that's your projection of your face. Anyway, Melanie, yes. Okay, and then you say, you need us to come over and get you. And the next response, cops came back. It's okay. Rock and Josh are helping me. All okay. Sorry I couldn't communicate earlier. I'll text you tomorrow if that's okay. All right. And then you respond, love her. You're thinking of her? Melanie, yes. Did you? Melanie, yes. Did you end up having a conversation afterwards with Amber Heard and learn what had happened that night? Melanie, yes. And what do you recall Amber Heard saying? Melanie, that there was a fight that Johnny was really upset at, that his mother had died, and there was a fight, and there was a phone, and it was just a big fight. Okay. Now, do you recall seeing Amber through that week? Melanie, nope, I don't recall. Elaine, we can take that off now. Alex, did you ever speak with any of Mr. Depp's attorneys, including specifically Adam Waldman? Melanie, no. Did Mr. Waldman ever try to contact you? Melanie, through a friend? Yeah. And please describe what you mean by that. Melanie, Mr. Waldman gave his phone number. I have Mr. Waldman's phone number. He gave his number through Amanda Diconette, and she gave it to me, and I've never done anything with it. Okay, thank you. I just have a couple more questions here. After that May 21st incident, on May 27th, Amber went to court and obtained a DV restraining order, and that was the beginning of quite an active press frenzy of the domestic relations situation between Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard. And I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions in that time frame, but I want to give you the context that I was talking about. So this is my fresh question, okay? Do you have a recollection of communicating with Amber in July 2016 following her having a mediation with Johnny Depp? Melanie, I don't remember. I don't recall the exact day. July, May, June, July. I don't remember what day. I do remember, and once again, I don't know what day, what month it is, but I'm assuming it would be the week that she filed for divorce. I was with Amber at the penthouse the day she filed for divorce, I do believe. I don't remember the day or the month it was, but I remember the meeting because that day was a very stressful day for all of us. So that I remember clearly that it was the day that she was going to file for divorce, and she knew she was going to be what it became. So I remember, she's like, I just don't remember, it's 5 years ago. I don't remember the exact date. But there's a couple of things that I remember because Amber and I went to dinner together one night, and that was the night before she was going to file for divorce. So I was with her that night. We had dinner together, and I was with her either the day or after a couple of days after her publicist and Rocky and Amanda. And we were all there that day to try and help navigate what was going to become what it became. But Elaine, so Miss Inglessis, no, this was very helpful. So Miss Inglessis, so you were with Amber Heard on May 27th, 2016, the day she filed for the domestic violence restraining order. Is that what you're trying to say? Melanie, I just don't recall if it's the day she filed for the violence order. I don't recall if it's that day, the day before, the day after. I don't know. I was with her somehow around those days, either the day she filed for divorce or the day she filed for the restraining order. I don't believe that's the same day. I don't know. I don't recall the exact day of the exact event. Elaine, and could you describe Amber Heard's demeanor in those days before and after the filing for divorce and the domestic violence restraining order? Melanie, an area of different of emotion, definitely from sadness to not wanting to divorce to anger to rage to be really upset to be really sad. So it was just a roller coaster of emotion that I think we were all there those couple of days to help navigate and go through it. Okay. Do you recall whether Amber Heard wore any makeup to cover any bruises caused by the phone on the days before she went to court? Melanie, I don't recall. Okay. One way or the other, you don't recall, right? Melanie's like, right. Okay, that's fine. Now, I'm going to ask you to take a look at what has been marked as exhibit number 25. And this is an email exchange between you and Amber Heard, and this is on July 26, 2016. And the first part is Amber, I believe, writing to you. And she indicates in there, I'm about to take off, so I couldn't talk earlier. I had a complete mental breakdown before I left. Johnny begging me not to go through with the divorce, to stay and talk to them, to work it out. I have been and was crashed, so confused, angry, and hurt, and so lost and scared, plus having to move. Yesterday was the first day I saw him in mediation. I have talked to him today. He's begging me to let him fix everything and delay my flight and talk tonight. I left instead, but I left my heart behind. I don't know what is right when everything feels so wrong. Do you remember Amber sending you that? Melanie, Do I remember the exact text? No, but you have it there. So yeah. Yeah, I mean, I remember those. I remember that feeling that she had. And as I said, I do remember the back and forth she went through. I don't recall this exact text on that day, but you have it on file. So you have proof of it. Yes. And then you say, holy shit, are you talking to him, my baby? She said, yeah, mediation's so hard. And you say, I had no mediation, no idea mediation was a face-to-face with him. Babe, I can only imagine the pain, stress, anxiety, sadness, and confusion that you are experiencing right now. And I know you are mourning the end of your marriage and try to process everything. I'm sure mediation was extremely difficult as you still love him, but please don't doubt yourself as far. Do you recall writing that? Melanie, yeah, I don't recall writing that, but I remember feeling scared for my friend. Elaine, okay. I guess what I'm asking, I'm sorry, I lost that. Could you say that again? I think you went in and out. Melanie, I said, I don't really exactly remember the days, but I remember the feeling of feeling scared for my friend. Yes. Okay, thank you. And now we're going to break up number 26. I'm going to show you what was marked as deposition exhibit number 26. And this is a continuation of that same text message. You said, don't doubt yourself as far as the decision that you courageously made. First of all, can we both be sure he really is genuine as far as wanting you back? Can he make a statement then acknowledging the DV that he needs help and that he's willing to go and get it to have you back? That would be the only way you should even think about it. I'm sure he still loves you, but there is much at stake for him and he has so much to lose. Is it a plot by his people? Even if he wanted you back, truly, his people will eventually fuck you. That I'm pretty sure about that. JD is bigger than just him. Then where do you go from there? Secondly, going back would only be temporary. He will not get sober. He will continue to beat on you, and he will eventually suck the life out of you or actually kill you. If he doesn't kill you, your spirit will be gone, broken, your youth and beauty gone, your career and reputation over. The only healthy way out of it is to move forward and continue what you have started. Rebuild yourself. You will find love again. You are worthy of the most beautiful love, not to go back to an addict that beats on you. Did you write those words? Melanie, yes. And Melanie had no idea that she was stippin' musky. This woman had so many fucking lies. Anyway, Elaine, and I take it from your response today that you still feel very emotional about this. It's very difficult for you, isn't it? Melanie, it's not difficult for me now, no. It just reminds me of the time how I felt, yes. She says she's almost done. Miss Inglessis, I'm going to ask you to look at what has been marked as deposition exhibit number 27, a continuation of the email and the text exchange between you and Amber. And you say in here, also, do remember his major character flaws. He will never change, the Jack episode being one of them, where you were so hurt. Do you recall what that was about? Melanie, actually, I do not recall the Jack. No, sorry. Elaine, I was going to. Alex, if you can take that one down, I'm going to show you what has been marked as deposition exhibit number 28. And it's an email communication between you and Amber on July 31st, 2016. I just want to let you read it. I can read it. Okay. Okay, Elaine, and I'm just going to direct your attention to a couple of things in there. And all right, it says, I understand you are torn as you still love your husband and you miss him, but I really don't think it's a good idea. You even considered going back. That's how you felt at the time, and that's what you advised Miss Heard. Is that correct? Melanie, correct. And then, thank you. And then you say, first and foremost, how can you go back? What is there to go back to? What future do you see? It's doomed. There's nothing good or happy or healthy that is going to come out of you going back. Nothing at all. You're just delaying the inevitable. Is that how you felt at the time in Melanie? Yes. Okay. And then you say quite eloquently, he is a madman, always has been, always will be. He's a delusional addict with a violent behavior when intoxicated, and he beats on you. He has demons and will suck the life and the youth out of you and spit you out in a couple of years, if it even lasts that long or doesn't end more tragically. You go back, you will fight again, and he will beat on you again, except the next time, the public won't believe you, and your friends or your sister won't be next door. You will be surrounded by his people only. Who knows what kind of fucking crazy shit could happen. Every move that you will make will most likely be documented and recorded just in case your life will be hell. Is this how you felt at the time, what you commented to Amber Heard? Melanie, yep. And you end with, please make the right choices towards healing and rebuilding versus self-destruction. Were those words at the time to Amber Heard? Melanie, yes. Okay, I have no further questions. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Camille, if I can ask the videographer how long we have on tape, we're going through 1 hour, 21 minutes. Okay. So now we get going with Camille. Good morning, Miss Inglessis. Thank you for being here today. I want to start out by asking you, are you here because you have been subpoenaed to be here at your deposition? Melanie, yes. All right. And do you recall receiving a subpoena from Miss Heard's counsel? Melanie, yes. All right. Are you here on your free will? Melanie, nope. Okay. What do you mean by that? Melanie, well, what do you mean by that? Camille, why are you here then? Melanie, because I've been subpoenaed. Okay. Do you recall who subpoenaed you? Melanie, Amber, I'm assuming. I mean, I'm not illegal. I have no knowledge, but I'm assuming Amber Heard subpoenaed me. Did you speak with any attorneys? Melanie, no. For Miss Heard ahead of your deposition today? Melanie, none. Did you speak with Miss Heard ahead of your deposition today? Melanie, no. When was the last time you spoke with Miss Heard? Melanie, I spoke with Amber extremely briefly, maybe a month ago, extremely briefly. Oh, and what was your conversation regarding? Melanie, she called me from not her number, so I answered, and she cried. And I said I didn't really want to have anything to do with her, and that was it. Oh, what was Miss Heard crying about? Melanie, I think through, I don't know. That's, you have to ask her. Why did she tell you she was upset? Melanie, it was just not even, I don't know why she was calling me. I don't know what she wanted to tell me. I was just not willing to listen, so I did not engage in a long conversation with her. She sounded upset on the phone, and I just didn't want to engage in it, so I just, made it really short. Why did you not want to engage with her? Melanie, what she wanted to talk about. What exactly? I don't know. Why did you not want to engage with her, with Miss Inglessis? Melanie, because I do not wish to continue my friendship with Amber or my work relationship with Amber. Camille, and why is that the case? Melanie, because I just did. All of this has been really difficult on me, and it's difficult on a lot of people, and it's just too much. I just don't, I gave birth 2 years ago, and I had a really bad postpartum, and since then, I just have no interest in any drama. If I can call it or anything that would make my life a little harder than I feel it is since I have postpartum, since I gave birth 2 years ago. So I basically, long story short, I cut out clients and friends that I feel are a little heavier, that need a little more care that I was able to give before that I can give since I gave birth. Camille, did you and Miss Heard have a specific calling out that resulted in the end of your relationship and working relationship? Melanie, nah. Did you believe that Miss Heard, the purpose of Miss Heard's call to you about a month ago was in relation to your testimony today in the case? Melanie, I don't know. Did she tell you that she wanted you to testify for her in this case? Melanie, on the call? No. Did Miss Heard tell you that she had changed her number? Melanie, no. Did you feel it strange that she had called you from a different phone number? Melanie, strange? No. She probably knew I maybe wouldn't have answered if it was her number. When did you first tell Miss Heard that you were no longer interested in having her as a client and being friends with her? Melanie, that phone call about a month ago. That was the first time you told Miss Heard that you were not going to be serving as her makeup artist anymore or being a friend to her, is that correct? Melanie, it wasn't said as exactly so. Camille's like, well, how was it said? Melanie, well, I just told Amber that, I wish her well, and I just have no interest in continuing a relationship, whether it was work-wise or friendship-wise. And again, I'm sorry to keep harping on this, but is there a specific reason other than the birth of your child and the postpartum issues as you described? And you have my sincerest sympathies, Miss Inglessis. Melanie, thank you. Is there any specific reason other than that you decided not to continue the relationship with Miss Heard? Melanie, no. Both as a client, as a friend? Melanie, no. You testified earlier that you assume Miss Heard called you from a different number because she would have known you wouldn't have picked up. That indicates to me, at least, that Miss Heard was aware that you had no interest in being her friend or continuing a working relationship with her prior to the phone call a month before. And then she nods her head. Camille's like, is that true? Melanie, I don't know what she thinks. You have to ask her. Why did you think she was calling from a different number? Melanie, what I said earlier, just because she's probably knowing I'm not having answered if it came from her number. Well, there has to be a reason why. I don't think, anyway, you just wouldn't assume that someone's not going to pick up because it's you unless you've done something to piss them off. Unless you know, they're not going to answer my call. I got to use a different number. We don't think that unless we've done shady shit. Okay, anyway. Melanie, well, we've had no contact in nearly 2 years, so I'm assuming that's why. And why have you had no contact in 2 years? Melanie, for what I mentioned earlier, my child is 2.5 years, so the last time I saw Amber was probably 2 years ago. Because of that, I think, friends, it fizzled out. I don't think nothing happened specifically before. It just fizzled out. It's the way it has. It doesn't mean that someone's not going to take your call if something just fizzled out. If I lose touch with someone and they want to reach out, they can use their phone number. I will answer the phone unless I'm done with them, unless I find that they are truly exhausting human beings or they've done something. Anyway. So other than the phone call placed by Ms. Heard about a month ago, it's your testimony. Do I understand your testimony to be that you have not spoken with anyone from Ms. Heard's legal team ahead of your deposition? Melanie, correct. Did you speak with any British lawyers ahead of your testimony in the UK? Melanie, British lawyer? I don't recall a British lawyer specifically. Do you recall speaking to anyone ahead of your testimony in the UK Kingdom? Melanie, yep. Who did you speak with? Melanie, well, ahead of the testimony in London, there was a lawyer that was provided, I'm assuming by Amber Heard for her witnesses, which at the time I took advantage of to help me because I've never testified. I'd never been in court of law, so I had communication with, I don't remember her name, and she was my lawyer for that trial. Camille, did this lawyer tell you that she represented Ms. Heard in the UK proceeding? Melanie, she wasn't, no. Who did she say she represented? Melanie, Amber's witnesses, which would be me. I mean, I don't know who else she represented, whether it was Rocky I.O. or Josh. I have no idea. But to my understanding, it was a lawyer who helped Amber witnesses to prepare for the trial. And what did she do for you to help prepare for the trial? Oh, and then there's a pretty significant objection from Elaine because you've testified that this person was your counsel and you're not represented here today. And Ms. Vasquez does not have right to ask you questions about your communication with your attorney at that time. There's such a thing as attorney-client privilege, and that is your privilege, and only you can agree to waive that. So if you say do not want to waive your privilege, then you do not have to, and you don't have to answer any questions about your communications with your attorney. From what I understand from your testimony, that was your attorney. So I just want you to know that because I don't want you to be taken advantage of because you're not represented here today. Camille, Ms. Bredehoff, do you represent Ms. Inglessis? Elaine, do you they're going at it. Do you represent Ms. Inglessis? Elaine, Ms. Vasquez, that is an incredibly inappropriate question to ask me. Camille, it's not. You were giving her advice on the record, so I'm asking, do you represent Ms. Inglessis? Elaine, I believe that my ethical and professional requirements require me not to let another attorney take advantage of an unrepresented person. I think it's unethical and unprofessional for you to be asking those questions. I would never ask those questions of an unrepresented person. I would never do that, not in 36 years of practice, and you shouldn't either. Camille, Ms. Inglessis, does Ms. Bredehoff represent you in this deposition? Melanie, nah. Okay, Ms. Inglessis, let me ask you some questions relating to the attorney that you spoke with in preparation for your testimony in the United Kingdom. Was it your understanding that this attorney represented you for the purpose of your testimony in the UK Kingdom? Melanie, yes. Did you sign a retainer agreement with this attorney? Elaine, I'm going to object. This calls for attorney-client communications. Camille, the fact that she signed a retainer agreement or didn't does not call for attorney-client communications. Elaine, I don't agree. Ms. Inglessis, you do not have to answer this question if you do not want to because she is asking you. Camille, Ms. Bredehoff, this is highly inappropriate. You do not represent the witness, so you should not be instructing her to answer my question or not answer my questions. If you have an objection to state on the record, you can state that, but your instructions are highly inappropriate. I'm going to ask the court reporter to please mark this transcript at this point. Ms. Inglessis has testified that you do not represent her, Ms. Bredehoff, so your instructions are inappropriate, and I, Elaine, I have an ethical and professional obligations and standards, and I'm going to adhere to them till my dying day. Ms. Inglessis, she is. If she asks you questions that involve your attorney-client communications, you do not have to answer them. That's your choice, but you do not have to answer them. And I have lodged an objection that you are calling for attorney-client communications, Ms. Vasquez. Camille, Ms. Inglessis, did you sign any retainer agreement with this attorney from the United Kingdom that represented you in the connection with your testimony in the UK Kingdom? Melanie, I do not wish to answer that. Camille, did you pay any money to this attorney that represented you in the United Kingdom in connection with your testimony? Elaine, objection that calls for attorney-client communication. Camille, Elaine, your objections are not well taken, and I'm going to ask the court reporter to please mark the transcript at this point. Camille, Ms. Inglessis, Ms. Bredehoff is not your attorney unless you choose to make her your attorney, and that's going to change the course of this deposition. I assume your answer is that you refuse to answer whether you paid the money to this attorney that represented you in the United Kingdom. Melanie, correct. Do you recall the attorney's name, Ms. Inglessis? Melanie, I do not recall. Ahead of your deposition today, did you review any documents? Melanie, I did not. And just to confirm, you did not speak with your attorney in the United Kingdom or Ms. Bredehoff or anyone that represents Ms. Heard ahead of your deposition today, correct? Melanie, correct. Okay, did you speak to anyone at all, your husband, friends, about your deposition today? Melanie, I did speak to my husband about my deposition today. I told my husband at 9 I have a deposition so he can take my kids out. Yes. Okay, did you speak to anyone else about your deposition today? Melanie, nope. Okay, Ms. Inglessis, I believe you testified prior that you're here because of a subpoena, correct? Melanie, correct. All right, do you recall, first of all, have you ever seen what's marked as Inglessis 29? Have you ever seen this document before? Melanie, I mean, this is a document that I have recognized. I have the document that I was served. I mean, if the document I have there is the same, I mean, are you asking me, is this the exact same document I have in my hand? Hold on one second, Camille. Alex, do you mind going and scrolling up the top? Ms. Inglessis, do you have a document in front of you that is a subpoena, a deposition subpoena? Melanie, correct. But I'm assuming, she said, hold on a minute. First of all, you're asking me if I know what a subpoena is or what a subpoena is not. You're asking me a legal question. I don't know what a subpoena document, I don't know what is a subpoena document or not. Camille, okay, we'll take it step by step. You've indicated, Ms. Inglessis, that you have a document. Do you mind reading for us? Melanie, correct. In your possession relating to this deposition today, correct? Melanie, well, there's 20 pages. Which one do you want me to read to you? Camille, let's read the first page of the documents that you have in your possession. Melanie, I'm so confused. Superior Court of California, Amber Heard petitioner, case number, I mean, I don't know. You want me to add? I'm just so confused right now. What do you want me to read? The whole first page? Camille, do you mind? Melanie, where is this leading? Camille, Ms. Inglessis, it would make it a little easier if you would just let me ask the questions and I will try to be a bit more clearer for you. Do you see a document that looks like the document that's on the screen? Elaine, nope. She had an objection from the question. Camille, in that packet of information that you received? Melanie, I'm looking right now. I'll represent to you, Ms. Inglessis. This is what lawyers call a deposition subpoena for personal appearance. Melanie, I don't have in my papers right now a sub 45. I have a sub 40 in front of me, and I'm looking. Camille, so looking at the SUBP 40 document. Melanie, yes. Do you mind reading for me and telling me on the top left side of the subpoena the name that appears there? Under attorney or party without attorney? Melanie, so I have two. SUBP 40, I was served twice somehow. So the 40 attorney or attorney without attorney, Craig Jamarian. Okay. Melanie, Gordon Reese. Yeah. Gordon Reese. Where have we heard that from before? We heard Gordon Reese represents Amber Heard in California and also represented nurse Erin Borum. Okay. I'm just getting everything straight in my head out loud. Okay. Camille, that's fine. And then the other subpoena that you have on the other 40 document, do you mind reading for us the name of the attorney and law firm? Melanie, Craig S. Merriam, John P. Koger, Christian A. Blocher, Gordon Reese, Scully, Makasuni, LLP. I'm not saying that right. I'm sorry. Camille, got it. Thank you very much, Miss Inglessis. Do you recall ever receiving a subpoena, or in particular, this subpoena, that's marked on the screen, marked as Inglessis 29, with the top left attorney from being Brown Rudnick and Randall Ale Smith and Camille Vasquez? Do you recall ever receiving this subpoena? Melanie, the only two pieces of paper that I received are the two sub 40 that I've just mentioned. I would not have received something that would not be in front of me. So somehow I got served twice. Somebody served me only one piece of paper, and then the same guy came back a week later. I guess he forgot the other pieces of paper where the Zoom meeting was on, so I got served here. But then there's all I have here. Camille, all right. Melanie, I have not received anything else. I mean, I don't know what I'm supposed to look at. There's a service list, but the front page, yeah. Camille, that's okay, Miss Inglessis. That's fine. I appreciate it. Did you reach out to any of the attorneys listed on either of those subpoenas that you read out when you received them? Melanie, I'm sorry. Repeat the question, please. Yes, of course. I'll rephrase. Do you recall reaching out or speaking with any of the attorneys that are listed on either of the subpoena forms? Melanie, no, none. All right. Thank you, Alex. Miss Inglessis, do you recall ever being asked by anyone to collect documents and produce them to Miss Heard or Mr. Depp? Melanie, no. Okay, other than your testimony in the United Kingdom, have you provided any other testimony in relation to Miss Heard's allegations of abuse against Mr. Depp? Melanie, can you clarify what is the testimony statement? Let me clarify for you. Well, we'll break it up. Other than the oral testimony that you gave in the United Kingdom, have you provided any testimony in the form of a written testimony or oral testimony in relation to Miss Heard's allegations of abuse against Mr. Depp? Melanie, yes. Okay, what kind of testimony did you provide? Melanie, a statement I believe is called with Amber's lawyers, when my kid was like 6 months old or maybe 2 years ago. Do you recall a name of Miss Heard's lawyer that you provided a written statement to? Melanie, I don't recall. How did the written statement come about that you provided to Miss Heard's lawyers? Melanie, I believe Amber must have asked me if I could possibly go to a lawyer's office and make a statement of what I saw that day. Do you have an independent recollection of Miss Heard making that request of you? Melanie, what do you mean, independent? Do you actually remember Miss Heard calling you and asking you to meet with her lawyers to draft a statement in support of her allegations of abuse? Melanie, I don't recall. I don't recall, but it must have been that way. How else would I have gone? So I don't recall the exact call, but if she must have asked me, if not, I would have not have taken the time to go to his office. And to be clear, you did go to an attorney's office that represented Miss Heard to provide a written statement. Is that correct? She wanted her to repeat the question. Okay, so then they reported back, and then she said correct. Okay. How many times did you meet with Miss Heard's attorneys in relation to your statement? Melanie, once. And who drafted the statement for you? Melanie, the lawyer firm. I don't know. Did they interview you ahead of drafting the statement? Melanie, correct. I physically went into the office. I physically went to his office and we did an oral statement. We had to. I don't know how your legal term, we talked and then he drafted a statement and sent it to me and I reviewed it and signed it. Did that all happen in one day, in that one visit? Melanie, what do you mean all? Did you speak with an attorney and did he draft the statement and did you review it and sign it the same day? Melanie, I don't recall. I don't recall if it was the exact same day or the day after or 2 days after. I don't recall. Do you recall communicating by email, perhaps, with this attorney in relation to the statement? Melanie, yes. Do you recall making any changes to the draft witness's statement ahead of you signing? Melanie, yes. What changes do you recall making, if any? Melanie, I recall making changes about, what was very important for me in this saga. And I can only say what I recall exactly. I just didn't want to have words put in my mouth or put things because my text said I was there and I did not recall it. Once again, I know it's irrelevant to this case, but I had really had a postpartum and my memory has really gone AWOL. So what I didn't want to do is, because those texts put me there, even if I don't recall, I'm going to say I'm going to be here. I'm going to be there. I just really wanted to recall, to be able to write the statement exactly what I recall and nothing else. And so when I went to see him and we started talking, and then the draft statement, he put things in there that I didn't recall, but he said, so I wanted to make him make the statement really short and exactly what I recall. So I could, when I get subpoenaed or when exactly like this, I could really remember what I remember and not the rest. What? What? Oh, she goes on. So I asked him to change it a couple of times to make it shorter and to make it not because Amber said I was there and Rocky said I was there, that I must have been there. I don't recall being there or at certain events. So that is why I asked him to change it. Until I felt confident that I would get interviewed by you guys, I could only say what I remember properly. Understood. Thank you, Miss Inglessis. And did you feel when you signed the witness statement that it accurately described what you recall from the incidents in question? Melanie, I do think that, yes. Now I realize there was an error in the date in the month I met Amber because I guess we looked at Tribeca Film Festival and it was, I guess the date was wrong. Instead of April, it was May. But as far as my recollection of December 16th, yes, it was accurate. Miss Inglessis, is this the declaration that you recall drafting with Miss Heard's attorneys maybe 2 years ago that you ultimately signed? Melanie, yeah, it does look like it, yes. Do you have any reason to doubt that this statement that was prepared by Miss Heard's attorneys and that you executed sometime in 2019? Melanie, no. Do you recall Miss Inglessis signing this by DocuSign? Melanie, yes. I don't recall DocuSign, but I did not go physically and give it to him, and I did not via mail, so it must have been DocuSign, yes. And I think you previously testified that there was in fact that it was wrong in your declaration. Sorry, her declaration was wrong. Melanie, Turning your attention to paragraph 3, do you see where the declaration says, I first met Amber in January of 2015 at Tribeca Film Festival in New York. Amber's normal makeup artist was unavailable and I was called to fill in. How is that statement inaccurate, Miss Inglessis? Melanie, I met Amber in April of 2015, not January. And do you recall telling Miss Heard's attorneys that you met her in January, or do you recall telling them that you met her in April of 2015? Melanie, I don't recall. I recall looking at pictures. I recall trying to find the exact month of Tribeca Film Festival in 2015, and I recall that's how we put the date in. But then, as this dragged on, obviously, I couldn't have met her in January of 2015 because that's when she got married, and I wasn't there when she got married, So then I looked, well, no, because they were married in February of 2015. Oh, yeah. Then I looked at a better picture, and it was April of 2015. So I'm not sure how this January came about. I don't know if we looked at some Getty images with the wrong date on it. I don't know. It's not the right date. It's April. Do you recall when you realized there was this mistake in your declaration? Melanie, I realized it was a mistake in my declaration, I think, when I started getting ready for the UK trial. When I went, because I did the declaration and this has no impact in my life. It was focusing and then what? And then when I had to get ready for the UK trial, I guess I had to read through this again. And I was like, no, that doesn't sound right. It's January, not April. What? She just said it was April, not January. Oh, yeah. You know what? That could be her English. It really could be her English. Anyway, not that her English isn't anyway. Miss Inglessis, at the time this declaration was drafted and you executed it, were you and Miss Heard still on friendly terms? Was she still your client? Melanie, yeah. Okay, do you mind just slowly scrolling down and give me Inglessis an opportunity just to briefly review the document? Miss Inglessis, do you recognize this document? Melanie, no. Okay, I'll let Alex continue strolling down slowly and see if maybe it triggers a memory. Miss Inglessis, it's fair to say this is the first time you've seen this document? Melanie, no, it's not fair to say. I received so many documents in so many different shapes and forms. I don't know what this particular document is. Ahead of your testimony in the United Kingdom, Miss Inglessis, do you recall a witness summary being prepared for you to review? Melanie, sure. I don't know. Yeah, that's witness summary. Well, perhaps my question was confusing. Do you recall reviewing this document ahead of your testimony in the UK Kingdom? Melanie, I'm reviewing a lot of documents. Was that part of the file? Maybe, I don't know. But you don't have an independent recollection of reviewing this witness summary ahead of your testimony in the United Kingdom, correct? Melanie, not correct, not particularly, no. Okay, and do you recall? Melanie, yeah, I'm just not sure what name was this given to me with the file. Maybe, I don't know. But did I review a witness statement before? Yes, of course I did. Is that a particular document that you're showing me? I have no idea. But I reviewed my witness statement before court, yes. And when you were referring to your witness statement, is the previous exhibit that I just showed you, or is it the witness summary of Melanie Inglessis? Melanie, I think probably both. I'm sorry, I missed your answer. Okay, she said probably both. Do you have an independent recollection, though, of reviewing this particular document ahead of your testimony in the UK Kingdom? Melanie, no. Okay, and I assume if you don't have an independent recollection of reviewing this particular document, you also did not help prepare this document ahead of your testimony in the United Kingdom, correct? Melanie, I don't know what you mean by help. I don't know what you mean by help prepare. Did you help draft this document? Melanie, I don't know what you mean by help prepare. Did you help draft this document? Melanie, did I personally draft it? Yes. Melanie, nope. And did you help an attorney draft this particular document ahead of your testimony in the United Kingdom? Melanie, I'm trying to understand what you want, and I'm just getting confused. I'm just not sure. Did I draft this document myself? No. Did I help draft? What does that mean, help draft? I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to be professional and help you, but I'm just confused on what exactly you want. Like, I don't understand. I'm sorry. It's okay, and I apologize if my questions aren't clear, so I will be clear. Before today, you don't have any independent recollection of seeing this document, correct? Melanie, I don't recall. And that's what I mean. You don't have an independent recollection of ever seeing this document before today? Melanie, I don't recall. Camille's like, okay. Melanie, the document from the other document, sorry? Camille, okay, perfect, that's fine, thank you. Ms. Inglessis, the attorney that testified earlier assisted you ahead of your testimony in the UK Kingdom. Was her name Anya Goldstein? Melanie, yes it was. And I know I'm going to get another objection from Ms. Bredehoff, but Ms. Inglessis, did you pay any money to Ms. Goldstein in connection with her representation of you as it relates to your testimony in the United Kingdom? Elaine, I'm going to object as it calls for attorney-client communications, but that's up to you, Ms. Inglessis, whether you waive that privilege or not. Camille, I'm going to disagree, Elaine. That calls for communication. Whether she actually paid money to an attorney is relevant, so it doesn't call for an attorney-client communications. I'm not asking how much money. I'm asking if she personally paid money to the attorney or if Ms. Hurd was the one who compensated Ms. Goldstein. Elaine, her communications with her counsel and her arrangements with her counsel are part of her attorney-client communication and therefore are privileged. Now, Camille, okay, and again, if it's inappropriate for you to be making these objections and instructing the witness not to answer and coaching the witness not to answer questions that I disagree with. Elaine, okay, but can I talk again or are you going to interrupt me again? Camille, Elaine, this is my portion of the deposition, but you feel the need to talk But you feel the need to talk a lot, so go ahead. Elaine, well, the record will speak differently, but in any event, I'm permitted to lodge an objection. I object on the basis of attorney-client communication, but I did not coach, nor did I instruct Ms. Inglessis, nor did I represent her, but she is unrepresented here. And that's why I have indicated that those are objections, they're valid objections, and it's up to Ms. Inglessis however she wants to handle it. But I do not want her to be taken advantage of when she's unrepresented. Camille, and I don't want her coached, let alone by someone that isn't her attorney. Ms. Inglessis, do you need the question read back or are you refusing to answer? Melanie, I'm refusing to answer. Okay, I believe it was your testimony. I'm going to try and wrap this up. I believe it was your testimony, though, that it was your understanding that Ms. Hurd provided an attorney for you in connection with your testimony in the United Kingdom, correct? Elaine, objection, leading, and foundation. Previously testified, objection, leading, go ahead. Melanie, correct. Okay, thank you. Move on from that. I know Ms. Bredehoff asked you earlier, do you recall the first time you met Mr. Depp? Melanie, the first time I met Mr. Depp? Yeah, I think it was at the Penthouse. I came to see Amber. I'm not sure if it was a month, maybe somewhere in 2015. Not long after I met Amber, I just came to the Penthouse, and there he was. And what was your impression of him when you first met him? Melanie, I don't know if you're talking about, I can't hear you. There was a little bit of a delay and it was frozen. Okay, everyone's experiencing. Okay, Maybe it's the internet. They go off the record, then they go on the record. Okay. Camille, Miss Inglessis, what was your impression of Mr. Depp when you first met? Melanie, lovely. You thought he was lovely? Melanie, yeah. Was each of, well, let me ask as a backup question. Did you interact with Mr. Depp? How many times did you interact with Mr. Depp? Melanie, through, you mean in all? Yeah, the entirety of your interactions. How many were there approximately? Melanie, 5, maybe less than 10, maybe? I don't know. And would you describe all of your interactions with Mr. Depp as, quote, lovely? Melanie, yes. Did you ever see Mr. Depp act in a violent manner? Melanie, no. Did you ever see Mr. Depp yell at Miss Heard? Melanie, no. Did you ever see him kick Miss Heard? Melanie, no. Did you ever see Mr. Depp throw an object at Miss Heard? Melanie, no. Did you ever see Mr. Depp slap Miss Heard? Melanie, no. Punch her? No. Did you ever see Mr. Depp kick Miss Heard? No. Is it fair to say, Miss Inglessis, that you never saw Mr. Depp be physically abusive towards Miss Heard? Melanie, correct. Did you ever, and you never saw Mr. Depp cause any injuries to Miss Heard, correct? Melanie, did I ever see him causing any injuries? No. And so any injuries that you claim to have seen on Miss Heard, you don't know one way or the other how they were caused, correct? Melanie, correct. The only source of information is from Miss Heard, correct? Melanie, correct. Okay, do you remember the first time Miss Heard told you that Mr. Depp was physically abusive towards her? Melanie, I don't recall the exact time or day or the exact time. No. Do you recall the incident that Miss Heard described for you when she first told you that Mr. Depp was abusing her? Melanie, well, I mean, the two incidents that I recall where Amber told me that Mr. Depp was abusive to her was, I don't know in which order, but I'm assuming December, the James Cordon, and then May 2016, the other incident. So one is the end of December and the other one in May 2016, I believe. Yes. So not Australia. Not Australia. Interesting. Okay. So do you recall having numerous conversations with Miss Heard about Mr. Depp abusing her? Melanie, yep. Which, besides the two incidents, the December 2015 and May 2016 incidents, any other incidents that you remember Miss Heard describing for you? Melanie, well, not always physical, some mental abuse early on. I remember, I think the first incident that my mind is, so I met Amber in April, I do believe. We did a press tour for Magic Mike that summer. The date, I'm not exactly sure, and we were in Amsterdam, I do believe, or London, and I was getting her ready for the premiere, and she said Mr. Depp were having a huge fight over the phone. I remember clearly because she was already made up to walk the red carpet, and she ended up crying, and she was in a really bad state and I had to redo the makeup and touch her up a little bit for the walk. So that was my first clear memory of some kind of, I don't know if you guys, some kind of fight between them, quite a bad fight between them. I'm going to ask you a little bit more about that specific incident. Do you recall, did Miss Heard have Mr. Depp on speakerphone in front of you during the fight they were having? Melanie, nope. Did you hear Mr. Depp and Miss Heard having a fight on the phone? Melanie, I was there. I was present in the room. But just to confirm, you could hear Mr. Depp's voice? Melanie, no. Okay, so fair to say that the only voice you heard was Miss Heard's, correct? Melanie, correct. Okay, and so do you know what Mr. Depp said to Miss Heard on the phone call, correct? So you don't know what he said. Melanie, correct. I do believe you described it, and maybe I'm misstating your testimony, as mental abuse. Is that a fair description of what you thought Mr. Depp was doing to Miss Heard on that phone call? Melanie, correct. And why do you say that? Melanie, because she was extremely distressed that day, that time, and when we talked a little further after the phone call, we had transpired and why they were fighting. And what did Miss Heard tell you, what the reasons they were fighting and what you had transpired? Melanie, that time specifically, if I recall correctly, it was about her taking roles with other lead men and how jealous he was. And yes, in that realm, about jealousy. But again, you didn't hear what Mr. Depp said or didn't say to Miss Heard on that phone call, correct? Melanie, correct. So any impression you have of that phone call between Mr. Depp and Miss Heard is from what Miss Heard told you, right? Melanie, correct. Do you recall any other occasions where you witnessed a fight between Mr. Depp and Miss Heard or heard about an incident or a fight between Mr. Depp and Miss Heard other than the three that we've discussed now? Melanie, I would say that during my friendship with Amber, before she filed for divorce, which I mean timeline, I don't know, a year, maybe a year and a half, It was always some conflict, some fight, some physical fight, some verbal fight, some kind of problem, some kind of, there was always a problem, problematic. It was very consuming for me. It was all consuming about that relationship. It was very consuming friendship. In the end, that's why I decided not to continue it. But you yourself, Miss Inglessis, didn't witness any of these altercations, fights, arguments, correct? Melanie, correct. So as far as this all-consuming description of her arguments, there's meaning Mr. Depp's and Miss Heard's arguments or disagreements, fights, that all came from Miss Heard, correct? Melanie, what do you mean that all came? You never witnessed anything yourself personally. Melanie, correct. So any descriptions of any fights or physical, emotional, or disagreements were all described by Miss Heard? Melanie, correct. I think you testified that you interacted with Mr. Depp less than 10 times. When did you interact with Mr. Depp? Was Miss Heard present for each of those times? Melanie, all of those times. Okay, how did you observe the way Mr. Depp would treat Miss Heard in your presence? Melanie, fine. I mean, different incident, different time, but always fine. I mean, yeah, fine. Did you think he was sweet towards Miss Heard? Melanie, not particularly, no. Did you find him particularly loving towards Miss Heard? Melanie, not particularly, no. How would you describe his general demeanor then around Miss Heard? Melanie, it depends. A couple of incidents where he was working, performing at the Grammys, so therefore the interaction was minimal. Other times we were in Venice, both getting ready. I've never really encountered them being very intimate. Maybe once or twice at dinner. We spent a Thanksgiving together, at Amber's birthday together. But yeah, I mean, fine, like nothing came out, nothing comes out of my mind. Okay, and during these interactions with Mr. Depp and Miss Heard, at the time you were aware, Mr. Depp allegedly was abusing Miss Heard, correct? Melanie, well, most of the interaction that I had was towards the end of 2015, right? I'm assuming. So I was not fully aware yet of, I guess, the seriousness of their fight, if I can say so. I think most of the time I saw them together was towards the end of December 5th, before December 15th. So Thanksgiving, that time, and then Amber's, I think, birthday. I'm getting confused with it. So the few times that I saw Mr. Depp was before I understood the seriousness of their fight. She didn't know about Depp's finger? No one mentioned to Melanie Depp's finger. This is all very bizarre. Okay. And your understanding again came from Miss Heard only, correct? Melanie, well, Miss Heard and some of her friends, yes. Who were some of her friends? Here we go, Melanie. Rocky, I.O., I'm not sure how you pronounce it, Josh, Drew, the people that were living, her sister Whitney, those were the core group. And you spent Thanksgiving with Mr. Depp and Miss Heard. Was that the Thanksgiving in November of 2015? Melanie, yes, correct, because they were divorced by May 2016, so yeah. How would you describe that evening? Melanie, awkward. Why? Melanie, because Marilyn Manson was there. Oh, poor Marilyn. Question, do you know Marilyn Manson? Melanie, no. But it was just an awkward Thanksgiving sitting there. It was quite intimate. So sitting, yeah, it was just awkward. He's just an awkward being, and he's just awkward to be around. So it was an awkward evening. Was he intimidating, or were you intimidated by him? One or the other. Do you recall Mr. Depp and Miss Heard having any type of disagreement or fight that evening? Melanie, disagreement, maybe, a disagreement. Fight, I think, came later when we were already gone. Oh, so now you know about this one. How interesting is that? What do you mean by that? Melanie, well, I mean, there was, it was such a small, intimate surrounding that you pick up on things. And so, I could tell that it was just awkward. It was just awkward. Was it awkward, or were you awkward, Melanie? Oh my God. I think Mr. Depp and Mr. Manson disappeared for a while. Then everyone was at the table, so they were wondering where they were. Just awkward. But that's just the opposite. I was just happy to be having Thanksgiving. I believe you testified previously that the fight came later. What fight are you referring to? Melanie, I'm assuming the fight that Amber told me happened later. Do you recall? I'm sorry. Melanie, I don't recall. One of the many fights that happened, I don't recall exactly what happened that evening, but I'm pretty sure they had a fight. And you're pretty sure they had a fight because Miss Heard told you after the fact they had a fight, correct? Melanie, correct. Because you did not witness Mr. Depp or Miss Heard having any type of fight that evening of Thanksgiving, correct? Melanie, correct. Did you recall Mr. Depp's son, Jack Depp, being present at Thanksgiving? Melanie, yes. Okay, was his daughter Lily Rose there as well? Melanie, I don't recall. Okay. Melanie, but I recall Jack specifically. Do you recall Miss Heard drinking on Thanksgiving? Melanie, sure, yes. Do you recall her drinking excessively? Melanie, no. Do you recall Mr. Depp drinking excessively? Melanie, no. Other than December 15 incident in 2015, Miss Inglessis, did Miss Heard ever ask you to cover up any injuries she claimed were a result of Mr. Depp's abuse? Melanie, I don't recall, no. You'd agree with me, though, Miss Inglessis, that being asked by a client to cover up bruises, cuts, would stick out in your mind, though, right? Melanie, no, depends. No, not really, no. I don't think that's a fair statement, no. Bruises and cuts as a result of domestic abuse that wouldn't stick out in your mind? Melanie, well, you're leading me the wrong way. There's different kinds of cuts and there's different kinds of injuries. There's different injuries. And so, yeah. Camille, Alex, may we please bring up Depp Exhibit 4? So, Miss Inglessis, turn your attention to December 15th, 2015. I believe you testified that, well, actually, I don't remember your testimony exactly, so let's clean it up. This is a fair and accurate. Does this document fairly and accurately depict your testimony from the UK Kingdom? Melanie, okay, so do I need to answer? You're asking me if I think this is accurate to what I remember? To what you remember testifying about in the United Kingdom. Camille, I will represent to you, Miss Inglessis, this is the transcript that was prepared of your testimony and the questions that you were asked and answered in the United Kingdom. Melanie, yeah? So if Elaine, excuse me, same objection, improper use of deposition or prior testimony, here, same foundation, as long as leading. Go ahead. Oh, so Melanie's like, yeah. I'm going to ask you to read from line 21. Melanie, okay. So on December 2015, is it the day before James Cordon, which was December 16th? I'm having a little trouble exactly remembering the day, the December 15 event. I'm going to tell you what I remember. I was supposed to go bowling with my husband. I was supposed to go bowling with Amber by my house. I do believe around 8:30 or 9, and she never showed up. So that was that. I went back home. She did send a text around 10:30. I'm sure you will have it in your files. She asked me if I asked her if she was okay. She said, no, not really. Johnny came to talk, and we had a fight, and he beat on me, and so on and so on and so forth. I asked her, do you need me to come? She said, yes. So I came to the penthouse on December 15th. Do you want me to read that whole thing? No, it's fine. Miss Inglessis, do you have an independent recollection of going to the penthouse in downtown Los Angeles on December 15th, 2015? Melanie, I have independent recollection of going to the penthouse before one of the incident. At the time, I couldn't recall if it was the day before the James show or the day before the fun incident. So the day before the fun incident. The fun incident. All right. She's just fucking stuttering. And that's when I made sure I needed to remember that was the day before December 16th, where yes. Does that make sense? No, Melanie, actually it doesn't. She goes on. So I knew I'd come a day before one of the two biggest fight that and I wasn't sure if that was the day or not the day, but it was December 15th. Oh my God. And sitting here today, you're still not sure if you went to the penthouse on December 15th, 2015, or if it was the day before the May incident in 2016. Melanie, well, now what I'm not sure. I found my text. You have my text, right? So it is, I know, I get it, but yes, I went to the penthouse on December 15th. Okay, and when you went to the penthouse on December 15th, I believe you testified before that you didn't see any injuries on Amber Heard that evening, correct? Melanie, I don't remember seeing any injuries. Okay. I don't recall seeing any injuries on Amber that night. Okay, do you recall if Miss Pennington was at the penthouse that evening? Melanie, yes. Do you recall if anyone else was at the penthouse that evening? Melanie, I don't recall. But do you remember Miss Heard being there and Miss Pennington, correct? Melanie, correct. All right, did you take any photographs of Miss Heard the evening of December 15th, 2016? Melanie, no. Do you recall being present when any photograph of Miss Heard was taken on December 15th, 2015? Melanie, I don't recall. Do you remember being present when photographs of Miss Heard's injuries were taken on December 16th, 2015? Melanie, no. And did you take pictures of Miss Heard and her injuries on December 16th, 2015? Melanie, no. So I don't want to take up the time of showing you all the photographs of Miss Heard, or excuse me, Miss Bredehoff showed you earlier today, but there were a number of exhibits. I think it's marked them as exhibit 14 through 20. Melanie, right? They were shown to you earlier this morning. Just to confirm, you didn't take any of these photographs, correct? Melanie, not on my phone, not with my phone, and I do not recall taking Amber or Rocky's phone to take those pictures. No, definitely not with my phone. I do not recall taking physically myself this picture. No, I don't recall. No. Do you recall those photographs being taken of Miss Heard in your presence? Melanie, I don't recall. So just to be absolutely clear, on December 15th and December 16th, you don't recall any photographs being taken in your presence. Melanie, correct. Okay, on the night of December 15th, 2015, do you recall Miss Heard showing you the hair that was allegedly missing from her head? Melanie, I don't recall. I think your previous testimony, we should just go back to it. What does it say? On page 1982, line 16 through 18, Ms. Inglessis, do you remember testifying in the United Kingdom in response to this question? What did she say to you had happened that night? And your testimony was, answer, she said that Johnny and her had a fight, and the main thing that sticks in my mind that I remember is about the incident in the bed. She said he tried to, her. Question, tried to suffocate her? Answer, those were her words. Yes, he tried to suffocate her with a pillow. She felt he tried to delete her that night, and she said he dragged her by her hair, and that's what I remember that night. Do you remember testifying? Melanie, yes. In the United Kingdom? Melanie, yes. Okay, did you suggest to Miss Heard that she had been seen by a doctor as a result of this altercation with Mr. Depp? Melanie, I don't recall. Do you recall Miss Pennington suggesting that Miss Heard be seen by a doctor or a nurse? Melanie, I don't. Do you recall anyone calling one of Miss Heard's nurses or doctors to do a concussion check on Miss Heard the evening of December 15th, 2015? Melanie, I don't. But fair to say you didn't call one of Miss Heard's doctors or nurses to do a concussion check on Miss Heard on December 15th, 2015, correct? Melanie, correct. Do you recall how long you stayed at the penthouse on December 15th, 2015? Melanie, no. Do you recall spending the night at the penthouse? Melanie, I would have. I would not have spent the night there, no. And now we're just going to December 16th, 2015. I believe your testimony was that you arrived at the penthouse on December 16th, 2015, after Miss McMillan was already there, correct? Melanie, correct. Okay, and do you recall if Miss Heard had any makeup on before you arrived at the penthouse on December 16th, 2015? Melanie, I don't recall. Would it be normal for Miss Heard to have makeup on her face before you arrived to do her makeup ahead of an appearance? Melanie, it would be normal for Amber to have concealer on, a little of that tint there, yes, because it's quite normal for Amber to wash her face. She always liked to wash her face before the makeup with the product that she likes. Do a toner, so it wasn't be abnormal for her to have a little makeup before and then she'd wash her face and start clean. But you don't remember one way or another whether Miss Heard had a fresh face with toner and moisturizer on before when you arrived on December 16th, 2015, correct? Melanie, no, I don't recall. Would she usually wash her face and go through the process in front of you? Melanie, yes. I mean, in front of me in her bathroom, but we were close, so it wouldn't be abnormal for me to be chit-chatting with her while she cleaned her face. And I don't think specifically in front of me, or no, not in front of me, but yeah, I mean, she would wash her face in the bathroom, which is adjacent to where we get her ready. You don't remember one way or another on December 16th, 2015, whether Miss Heard had a fresh face, no makeup on, or whether she maybe had some light concealer when you arrived at the penthouse, right? Melanie, I don't recall if she had some concealer or she had a fresh face when I arrived at the penthouse, correct? But I recall that she washed her face. She did that every time we did her makeup. Okay, I'm going to pull up Dep 6, Miss Inglessis. I'm going to play for you part of the clip, Miss Heard's appearance in the James Corden show. Melanie, Miss Inglessis, I'm just going to ask you to watch this clip in its entirety and pay particular attention to Miss Heard's face. Melanie, yeah, okay. As pretty as James Corden is, Melanie, yeah. Miss Inglessis, is it true and accurate clip of Miss Heard on The Late Show with James Corden on December 16th, 2015? Melanie, what do you mean you're asking me is it true? Is this the clip? Does this clip accurately depict Miss Heard's appearance on the James Corden show on December 16th, 2015? Melanie, yes. And you applied Miss Heard's makeup prior to this appearance and for this appearance on December 16th, 2015, correct? Melanie, yes. Okay, and now we've gone through, well, you've gone through this with Miss Bredehoff, but unfortunately for you, I'm also entitled to ask the question about this. And I want to be really specific. So based on your best recollection, what injuries did you see on Miss Heard on December 16th, 2015? Melanie, Amber had a slight discoloration on both eyes and on the top of the bridge of her nose. And hold on, as I do believe the right eye had a little bit more of a gash right there. It wasn't that strong. It wasn't that swollen, but there was definitely some blue and yellowish discoloration there, mainly on the inner corner and a little more here. And then she had on the right lip, as I said earlier, I don't know the exact medical term, but it looked like it was a split lip or a gash there. Yellowing. Yellowing would not happen the day before, would it? Would it? I don't know. I'm not a doctor. Was the lip, let's start with the lip. Was the lip bleeding? Melanie, the day of the James Corden show? I don't recall. No, it was not bleeding. Did you ever see Miss Heard's lip bleed on December 15th, 2016? Melanie, I don't recall. But you remember that it was not bleeding on December 16th when you were applying the makeup, correct? Melanie, when I was applying the makeup, correct. How about before you were applying the makeup? Do you recall it bleeding? Melanie, I don't recall. And I think you described it as either a gash or a split lip. Melanie, yeah, I don't know what would be the medical term for it. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not asking. Yeah, go ahead. Melanie, I'm not aware of what kind of injury would have caused this. I'm not a medical expert, no forensic expert. It's slightly swollen. And by the way, you can see it in the video, so it's crazy to me. But anyway, it was slightly swollen and it was either a gash or it was swollen with some kind of cut. Do you recall Miss Heard ever having a cold sore on her lips? Melanie, no. You said that there was a slight discoloration under both eyes. Was there swelling under both eyes as well? Melanie, well, clarify swelling, maybe very little, but it was mainly discoloration, like bruises. I recall mainly discoloration, like a bruise. Maybe there was a little tiny swelling on one of the eye that was a little more injured than the other, but not huge swelling, no. Did Miss Heard tell you how she sustained some slight swelling and discoloration under the eyes? What specifically Mr. Depp did to her that caused that injury? Melanie, headbutted her. Oh, there it is. I believe your testimony earlier today was that he likely headbutted her. Is that correct? Melanie, I wasn't there. I don't know if he lightly or not lightly headbutted her. That was your testimony, that it appeared as if she had been, quote, lightly headbutted. Do you remember saying that earlier today? Melanie, maybe I misquoted. Oh, no, you didn't. It's not my position to say how headbutted she was or anything. Maybe I misquoted. Nat, you shouldn't have said shit. Okay, but do you recall Miss Heard telling you that she sustained the injury to her eyes and the bridge of her nose as a result of Mr. Depp headbutting her, correct? Melanie, correct. Did Miss Heard tell you how she sustained the injury to her lip? Melanie, I don't recall. Did you see any other injuries on Miss Heard as a result of what she claims Mr. Depp beating her the night prior? Melanie, I don't recall. Now let's go to the makeup that you did. She looked beautiful. Melanie, thank you. Now let's go to the makeup that you did. Sorry, I already did that. Actually, before we go to the makeup, let's talk about the injury to her scalp. Miss Heard told you that Mr. Depp, pulled her hair out or dragged her around the room? What do you recall about what do you recall that Miss Heard told you about how she sustained an injury to her head? Melanie, I recall that she said he dragged her by the hair. I'm not sure what if that means drag. What does that mean? But her words, I'm pretty sure, was dragged. He dragged me by the hair. And did she show you the hair that was missing as a result of being dragged by the hair? Melanie, she showed us, me and the hairdresser, the hole where the hair was missing on top of her head. Did she show you the actual hair that was taken out of her head? Melanie, I don't recall. And when you say us, it was you and who was the hairdresser? Melanie, a dear. And was Miss McMillan there as well? Melanie, no. Miss McMillan was never really there when we got ready, so it was two separate things. And Savannah never really comes up when we get ready. No, she wasn't there when Amber described what happened. But you just confirmed these injuries, right, that you saw Miss Heard on December 16th, 2015. You don't know how they were caused, correct? Melanie, yeah, correct. And so any information that you have about how the cause of the injuries came from Miss Heard only? Melanie, from December 16th, correct. Well, any injuries other than Miss Heard and her friends, you never witnessed Mr. Depp being violent or abusive towards Miss Heard and causing any injuries. Melanie, correct. Okay, so let's talk about the makeup that you actually used to conceal these injuries on her face on December 16th. I believe you testified you used a concealer with a peach undertone. Melanie, Did you have training and experience dealing with injuries or covering up bruises on people? Do you have any specific experience or education? Melanie, specific experience? I have experience in doing bruises and cover bruises for special effect. Yeah, I mean, throughout my career, I've created bruises and I've also covered bruises for, with models or real life, whatever it is. So yeah, I have experience in covering some bruises, yes. How about swelling? Same question. Melanie, well, I mean, it's a little harder to cover swelling. That would be maybe, honestly, we would try to bring the swelling down. Covering it up would not be pretty. It would be harder. And how about cuts? Melanie, yeah. Objection. Okay. I'm sorry, Miss Iglesias. Let me do the question on the record so it's clear. Do you have any experience covering up cuts on people's faces using makeup? Melanie, I have experience covering cuts. I mean, I have covered cuts, as I said, with bruises throughout my career. Through my 20 years as a makeup artist, I have some experience in covering bruises and cuts, yes. Okay, specifically, as it relates to Miss Heard's makeup look on December 16th, do you recall what foundation you used? Melanie, the brand? You probably don't remember the brand, but do you recall the shade that you used? Melanie, how would I know? It's 5 years ago. Absolutely not. The shade? No. But do you have a specific recollection of using a peach undertone concealer? Melanie, yes. And I will tell you why. Because Amber always had in her bag, we have the same concealer. She has a concealer from a brand called Clé de Peau. And she has a specific shade, it's beige. Beige was Amber's color for under her eyes, period. So that day, December 16th, I didn't use beige. There is another concealer that has a more peach in there and orange, and it's called Honey from the same family, and I used that instead. And I think I also I have a wheel it's a bruise wheel that has different colors, and you pick up the color to gently touch up any darkness. Why would you use the same combination of concealers to cover up dark circles as well? Would you use the same combination of concealers to cover up dark circles as well? Melanie, maybe the same color, but not maybe the same product. Listen, dark circle is complicated, so it's not like one fits all. But yes, you would do a dark circle or a blue darkness, very dark circle. I mean, use a little peach undertone. Okay, did you make a different choice for her overall look other than the concealer as a result of the injuries that you saw on her face on December 16th? Melanie, not different choice, but I remember we specifically, I know you read it before, we had a red lip that was not uncommon for her. We know that she's a natural red lip, so it was like, oh my gosh, it was a red lip. But I remember that day, I specifically structured my makeup. There's a couple of things that we do with Amber. We do a smoky eye and a nude lip or a red lip. And I remember specifically thinking of my makeup about what we needed to highlight there and try not to draw attention to it. And the red lip was our only option to cover that red cut that was there. So I remember very specifically thinking that we had to have a red lip, sharp brows, and constructive makeup to take away from there. So basically, it was going to mean nothing to you guys, but just basically a lot of highlights up here and kind of not focus on this. I remember talking about it very clearly. And forgive my ignorance, but what did you do to cover up the cut on the lip other than, other than apply red lip? Melanie, a red lip, that's it. A red lip, it is swollen. I can see it in the video in the show. So her lip was swollen. It was big on that side. You can see it. There's nothing I can do about that. But we did a really dark lip too. It matched that red gash or cut, whatever that was there. Do you recall Miss Heard hindering as a result of the injury on her lip? Do you recall Miss Heard being hindered as a result of the injury on her lip? When I say hindered, I mean, did she have trouble opening her mouth widely, or, did she complain about it hurting or splitting open and bleeding? Do you recall any of that? Melanie, I don't recall. And again, just to confirm, on December 15th, 2015, you don't recall seeing any injuries, including a split lip on Amber Heard, correct? Melanie, correct. Okay. Melanie, and is it what you guys, I can only tell you, what I know. And we appreciate that. Do you recall having any specific conversations with the hairstylist that was doing Miss Heard's hair on December 16th, 2015, as it related to abuse that Miss Heard was describing for you? Melanie, yes. We talked a bit about it, yes. And how do you recall about that conversation? Melanie, I mean, I think everyone was a little like, whoa, shit, okay. I think everyone was a little surprised. Everyone was a little like not knowing how to move forward with it. I mean, but we talked. As I said, when Amber was in the chair and Adair was behind her and I was in front of her, I recall the three of us having this conversation. And I recall Adair showing me the hole there. And I also recall Adair talking about doing a hairdo that would cover some of the chunk of missing hair. Oh my God, again, we've all seen it. We've all seen it. No one would have noticed. No one would have noticed why the conversation. And where is Adair in all this? Oh my God. But just to confirm, you don't know how that chunk of hair was missing from Miss Heard's head. You don't know what caused the chunk of hair to be missing, correct? Melanie, I don't know. Correct. Okay, you don't have any personal knowledge, I should say, as to how the chunk of hair came to be missing from her head. Melanie, but I did not witness it, correct? Miss Inglessis, you've testified previously that you see, watching the video clip, right? You see Miss Heard, you see the swollen lip, and you see bruising? Melanie, yeah, I see. I've known that face. I know that face so well, and I've done it so many times. I can tell where the bruises are, and I can tell where the swollen lip is, correct? So, Miss Inglessis, do you mind please identifying for me, does this photograph accurately depict Miss Heard on the James Corden show on December 16th, 2015? Melanie, yes. And can you point to me exactly where, or describe, I guess you can point because we're by Zoom, but can you describe for me where you see the bruising on Miss Heard's face? Melanie, well, I didn't say I saw a bruise, but I saw discoloration. I can see my makeup. So I see the discoloration on the right eye. Just right under, I see a little dent there. She said, go up. Oh, okay. It is me. Can you see where the split, you guys, can I have access? Fuck. And also, this is a picture that is, taken. This is not really accurate picture. She's sideways. The light is one way, but yes, there is better pictures that you can see. But if you give me the map, I will show you. But there's still other pictures where you can see the split lip better or the swollen lip. Well, then show us. Oh my God. Okay. And when you're pointing just for the record, you're pointing to the right side of Miss Heard's lip, correct? Melanie, correct. Okay. Melanie, it's here. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Miss Inglessis. Melanie, but nothing. But as I said, there's better pictures. She's sideways. There's better pictures where you can see what I can feel. You can see better. All right. Alex, do you mind scrolling down to the next? There should be another photograph, same exhibits. It might be the same photograph. Melanie, yeah, she's still sideways. What is your testimony, Miss Inglessis, Miss Inglessis, it's your testimony that you believe you can see swelling on the right side of Miss Heard's lip. Melanie, yeah. Okay, do you see any bruising or concealed bruising under her eyes? Melanie, well, I know I concealed those bruises, so yes, I can see them because I know I did it, but so there's neither here nor there, but yeah, I can see them just under her eyes, under her right eye. I can see the little gash right there, and all that darkness right, I don't have the mouse anymore, but all that darkness right under there, that is not eyeshadow, and it's neither dark circles from not sleeping. This is part of the injury showing through. And where do you see any discoloration or bruising on the bridge of her nose? Melanie, I do not know. I must have done a great job there. Okay, may I please have you scroll down to, I believe it's page 8. Miss Bredehoff, can I ask what number is this exhibit? I'm not clear. Alex, did you label it successfully or did you label it on Depp? The reason I'm asking Camille is because earlier I saw that he was, go ahead, Alex, go ahead. I've labeled this exhibit number 33. Elaine, Camille, what he's been doing, just to show you as well, when you call them Depp 1, 2, 3, whatever, he's just adding them on to what I did. So they're Inglessis, 29, 30, 31, 32. I just want to make sure the record was clear on that. Camille, got it. Thank you. Okay. Miss Inglessis, do you recognize the person in this photograph to be Amber Heard? Melanie, yes. And is it fair to say this is Amber Heard on December 16th at the James Corden show? Melanie, yes. Okay, do you see any part of her lip that's more swollen in this photograph? Melanie, you can't be serious with this photograph. It's so blurry. You know what I mean? I can't, no. It's not accurate. I can't, no. But I just want to confirm, Miss Inglessis. Elaine's like, let her finish. So Melanie went on. Yeah, I mean, this picture is, it's not. How can I see anything? You can't even read the Late Show properly. It's absolutely not clear. It's not shown. It's not a good depiction of the makeup or her face that day. This is a zoomed 1,000 times, and it's so pixelated. So, I mean, oh, Camille, Miss, I just want to confirm your testimony is that it was a cut lip, right? A split lip that Miss Heard had when you did her makeup on December 16th, 2015. Melanie, well, I don't know. I said it was a split lip, but as I say, I'm not a medical. I don't want to hold on to the term that I don't know is the right term. She had a swollen lip. The picture below, if you can zoom on the picture alone with James Cordon, you can see there in the right where her lip was swollen there. I can see exactly where it is. So is it split? Is it cut? Well, I can see. Well, it's hard to, but I can see it. She had a cut on her lip and it was swollen. Oh my God. Camille, okay, thank you, Alex. Miss Inglessis, we're almost done, just going through. Do you want to take a break? Does anyone need a break? I maybe another 15 minutes or so left. She just wanted to go straight through. Okay, Camille, I believe you previously testified that you attended Miss Heard's birthday party dinner on April 21st, 2016. Is that correct? Melanie, correct. Do you recall who else was in attendance for that dinner? Melanie, yeah, so myself, Rocky, I'm assuming Josh, Amanda, and maybe 2 or 3 other people that I don't know, and Johnny. Do you recall Mr. Depp arriving on time for the dinner, or did he arrive late? Melanie, he arrived very late. Okay, and what was his demeanor when he arrived on April 21st, 2016, if you remember? Melanie, I don't really call anything specific. He's a strange character, He's very difficult to have like a normal compass on how, what I'm trying to say. First of all, I don't know him very well, so I don't know if his demeanor was right or left. So far, so good. His demeanor was fine. Did he appear inebriated to you? Melanie, no, not to me. Did he appear to be under the influence of drugs? Melanie, I don't know. No, it's your impressions. So Elaine, objection calls for speculation and expertise. Camille, no, it's her impressions, Elaine. I said, did he appear to be under the influence of drugs? I didn't ask her if he had taken drugs. Melanie, I don't know. Did you see Mr. Depp do any drugs on April 21st, 2016? Melanie, no. Did you ever see Mr. Depp do any drugs? Melanie, no. Okay, did you ever see Miss Heard do drugs? Melanie, no. Do you recall Miss Heard drinking alcohol on her birthday? Melanie, yes. Do you recall if you believed was she drinking excessively? Melanie, no. Okay, do you recall Miss Heard telling you prior to her birthday that her and Mr. Depp were separating? Melanie, I don't recall. Sorry, just one quick second. Miss Inglessis, turning your attention to the text message halfway down this. Well, first, do you believe this document accurately reflects text messages exchanged between you and Miss Heard? Melanie, do I currently remember if those texts were between me and Amber 4 years, nearly 5 years ago? No. Do you have any reason to doubt that these are an accurate depiction of text messages you exchanged with Miss Heard? Melanie, no. Okay, do you say halfway down, you write, things are really weird. I thought everything was fine and better. And Miss Heard writes, things are really bad. We're separating. It's hard. And then your response is, what? Babe, you want to hang out tonight? What are you doing? I can come by the house in an hour or so. Do you see that? Melanie, yes. Miss Inglessis, this text message were exchanged by you and Miss Heard in January 28th, 2016. Do you recall hearing from Miss Heard that her and Mr. Depp were separating in January of 2016? Melanie, I've heard the whole of 2015 and most of January. So, do I remember specifically that on January 28th and she told me she was going to leave him? No, it was part of their story for a year. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm just not sure. What's your question? Camille, after Miss Heard's birthday dinner on April 21st, 2016, it's my understanding that some of you went to Coachella for the music festival. Is that accurate? Were you part of that group that went with Miss Heard to Coachella Valley to attend the music festival? Melanie, correct. Who else was on the trip? Melanie, myself, Rocky, Amber, Whitney I.O., and a guy, I don't remember the name, and one of Amber's friends. Well, everybody's friends. I don't know his name. I think it was 6 or 7 of us. Did you drive with Miss Heard out to the desert? Melanie, sorry, and Savannah, right. No, I did not. Okay, who did? Well, how did you get to Coachella Valley? Melanie, I got to Coachella Valley with Savannah McMillan. I was supposed to go with them and decided not to, so I drove with Savannah. Oh my God, was it Savannah or was it Samantha? I'm so confused. So it's fair to say that you saw Miss Heard once you arrived to Coachella on or about April 17th, 2016? Melanie, if that's the date of Coachella Film Festival, yes. Do you recall anything about Miss Heard's appearance when you first encountered her in Coachella Valley? Melanie, no, I do not. Did you notice any injuries to Miss Heard? Melanie, I don't recall. Do you recall Miss Heard discussing any abuse that she had sustained the night after her birthday on April 21st, 2016 by Mr. Depp? Melanie, yes. What do you recall about that? I recall there was a fight. I don't remember. I don't recall exactly the fight. I know there was a fight and there was some problem. That's why they were late coming back to Coachella. I don't recall exactly what she told me, but there was some problem the night before, yes. But you don't remember seeing any injuries on Miss Heard after her birthday dinner in April of 2016, correct? Melanie, I don't recall. I'm sorry, and April, I don't know if you got that, but I'm sorry, Miss Inglessis. May I please have you repeat that answer? Melanie, I don't recall. Do you recall Miss Heard asking you to do her makeup while you were at Coachella? Melanie, no. So you didn't do Miss Heard's makeup, is that correct? Melanie, correct. I only have maybe 10 more minutes left, and I actually do need a break, so maybe we take a 10-minute break. So they take a 10-minute break, and they are back. Miss Inglessis, I believe you testified previously that most of your interactions with Mr. Depp took place before you were aware of how the extent of the abuse that Miss Heard allegedly was suffering through. Is that fair and accurate statement of your testimony? Melanie, yes. Okay, and was it after you became aware? Would you agree it was after December of 2015? Melanie, no response. Did your relationship change with Mr. Depp after December of 2015? Melanie, I had no relationship with Mr. Depp, so it didn't change. Did your impression of Mr. Depp change after December 2015? Melanie, yes. I would say my impression of him, it changed, yes. Miss Inglessis, I'm going to show you what appears to be a text message between you and Miss Heard that have been produced by Miss Heard dated April 27th, 2016. Melanie, This was at or about the time, just to give you the context, of the Met Gala. Melanie, Do you recall asking Miss Heard whether you should do Mr. Depp's makeup for his appearance at the Met Gala in 2016? Melanie, I don't recall asking Amber that, no. Okay, I'm going to direct your attention, if I can, to the text message at your text message labeled Melanie Inglessis, about a third of the way down. It says, okay, in a taxi, I was going to eat first. I'm starving, but I will get something from you. Melanie, 10 away, it looks like a heart emoji. Melanie, I'm bored to do Johnny's makeup. I'm on board to do Johnny's makeup also. Hired for Matt? Melanie, And then Ms. Heard responded to you and said, I suggested that when things were go, so I had no idea. A, is that going to be, I'm sorry, what is that? Is that going to be weird for you? For me, no worries, but F you. And B, is that going to be too much? Or I believe she meant much, MU, like you for time, what? And you respond, it's not weird at all. It's more about timing and I want my time with you. And Johnny won't want to get ready 2 hours earlier. I have a badass little assistant that's going to stay with you and Johnny. I can tell her what to do on Johnny and she can do it if timing works better. Melanie, Do you recall sending Miss Heard a message saying that it wasn't weird for you at all to do Mr. Depp's makeup on or around April of 2016? Melanie, do I recall sending her that text? No, but there it is. Do you recall feeling that it wasn't weird to do Mr. Depp's makeup for the Met Gala in 2016? Melanie, well, I don't remember, but my assumption was that it was okay with Amber, then it was okay with me. So you were okay with doing the makeup of a man that was beating your close friend and client? Melanie, I guess I was okay doing the makeup. I was okay touching the makeup if Amber was okay. Camille's like, okay. Melanie, correct. If Amber was fine and still in her relationship going with Johnny, I was hired as a makeup artist to do Johnny's makeup, so I was fine with it, correct? Camille, yeah, I believe your text message. It wasn't weird for you at all. Is that correct? Melanie, yep. So Melanie went, yeah, you implying that I meant it was not weird at all. What do you think I meant? It's not weird at all for them to be together. If Amber and Johnny decide to stay together, it's not weird for me to come and do both their makeup and be hired, correct? Yes. He's not abusive to me. He's never been, so it wasn't weird for me. However, she decided to handle her makeup. That's up to her. And you also never seen Mr. Depp be abusive towards Miss Heard either. Is that correct? Melanie, correct. Okay, final incident, Miss Inglessis, May 21st, 2016. I believe you testified previously that you do not recall interacting with Ms. Heard after May 21st, 2016, before she filed for divorce and sought the temporary restraining order. Is that accurate? Melanie, that's accurate. I don't believe it is. Okay, when did you interact with Ms. Heard the week after May 21st, 2016? Do you recall seeing any injuries on Ms. Heard? Melanie, what happened on May 21st? Why is it? No, wait, why it happened? I'm trying to understand what you're placing me after May 21st. Because you said you were there. Oh my God. Let's bring you to, well, I believe Ms. Bredehoff actually did say to you that Ms. Heard sought and obtained a temporary restraining order on or about May 27th, 2016. So prior to that date, do you recall seeing any injuries on Ms. Heard? Melanie, I don't recall. Okay. Ms. Inglessis, do you have any reason to believe that this isn't an accurate depiction of text messages you exchanged with Ms. Heard on or about May 24th, 2016? Melanie, nope. Turning your attention to the text from Ms. Heard where she writes, I might be off. In blue, Ms. Inglessis, do you see a text message from Ms. Heard where she writes, hey babe, we're thinking of a little SIST for dinner. How does that sound for you? Melanie, And then you respond, great. Ms. Heard says, where are you now? Home. You respond, watching a stupid movie. And then Ms. Heard said, meet us at 9:30. And you write, yes. And then Ms. Heard, on the next page, they're just trying to figure it out. Okay. Ms. Inglessis, do you see a text message from Ms. Heard that continues on, we're here, and you write back, me too, waiting for a valet? Melanie, yes. Do you recall meeting Ms. Heard for dinner on or about May 24th, 2016 in downtown Los Angeles? Melanie, yes. Okay, and do you recall who was at that dinner besides you and Ms. Heard? Melanie, maybe. Definitely Rocky, and maybe Whitney. I'm not sure, but definitely me, Rocky, and Amber. Most likely Whitney, but I'm not 100% sure. Do you recall seeing any injuries on Ms. Heard's face at that dinner on May 24th, 2016? Melanie, I don't recall. Do you recall seeing any injuries on Ms. Heard before she filed for divorce and sought to obtain a temporary restraining order the week of May 21st? Melanie, I don't recall. Do you recall Ms. Heard asking you to apply any makeup to any injuries on her face the week of May 21st, 2016? Melanie, nope, she did not. Do you recall Ms. Heard's general demeanor at the dinner on May 24th, 2016? Melanie, what I remember about that dinner is she was, and I'll tell you why I remember this clearly, because she was very distraught and she was very confused if she should file or not for divorce. And she was really sad and upset and angry and all of it. And I remember that because that night I actually physically took her phone so she should not, so that if Johnny tried to reach out to her again, she wouldn't have a phone that night and she would go through the divorce tomorrow, the next day. So I remember physically having her phone. And when I dropped them back at the penthouse, she said, keep my phone. So if he contacts me, I won't know. I won't cave and I won't file for a divorce tomorrow. So I went home in my home with her phone. And that's why I remember. That's what's sticking out. And then the next morning, as you can see in those text messages, she said, I need my phone. And I said, and then I had to drive to the penthouse and give her phone back. At that time, that day, I'm assuming that she filed for divorce, and that day, the whole circus started. Johnny was not reaching out to her. Amber was reaching out to Johnny. And why did you not see that gaping zit on her face? Ugh. While you had Ms. Heard's phone that evening, do you recall if Mr. Depp tried reaching her? Melanie, I don't recall. I couldn't. I don't have access to her phone. The notifications don't pop up? Okay. But did it ring while you had it in your possession? Melanie, I don't really recall. I don't think it was on ring. It was on silent. I didn't take her phone to spy on the phone. I just took the phone so she would not feel the urge to go through with the divorce if he called her. Okay. And you believe that Ms. Heard should go through with the divorce, correct? Melanie, correct. And this was based on what exactly, Ms. Inglessis? Melanie, on what she told me, on her reflection of the marriage. Okay, and again, just to confirm, you never yourself witnessed Mr. Depp be violent, abusive towards Ms. Heard. Melanie, correct. And so any opinions you had as to why Ms. Heard should file for divorce, that was all based on what Ms. Heard and her friends had told you, correct? Melanie, correct. I have nothing further. Thank you so much, Ms. Inglessis. Elaine, I do have a few follow-ups. I bet you do. And I'm going to try and make it as quick as I can for you because I really do appreciate your time. Elaine, You said when you were talking about Amber at the very end, Amber filing for divorce on Friday, May 27th, you said that's when the whole circus started. What did you mean by that? Melanie, I don't know if the exact date, I don't recall the exact date, but I recall one day, and you are probably right, it's probably the day after that dinner where we were all in the penthouse and she felt that not only she had to go through divorce, but she felt that Johnny's lawyers already will try and assassinate her character, and that day she became, really upset and angry because, to my knowledge, she wanted a quiet divorce. And I think so that day we're all aware that it was going to become big. A big press war. Camille, objection. I'm going to move to strike as non-responsive and hearsay. Elaine, let's go back just for a moment. You were shown the last two exhibits were Inglessis 37 and 36 and 37. I'm just going to ask Alex if you can bring up 36 just briefly. Miss Inglessis, I'm going to ask you to take a look at what's been marked as number 36. And I'm going to ask you to take a look at this part from Amber. It says, today's for sure been the worst so far, but I'm starting to feel a little better. And I'm here with Sis right now, and I was just talking to Rocky about me venturing out of the house for dinner as a change of, I think she meant pace. Do you recall why that was the first day so far? Do you recall her telling you that? Melanie, the date, I don't know the timeline, but I'm assuming because she was torn between divorcing, and eventually going through with it. Okay. Now, you were asked several times by Ms. Vasquez whether you saw any injuries on Amber Heard during the week of May 21st, and I believe you said she didn't recall. Is that correct? Melanie, correct? Okay, and do you know whether Amber Heard was wearing makeup during the week of May 21st? Melanie, oh, no. Elaine, let me re-ask that. I think you testified earlier that Amber's practice was to wear concealer, some foundation, moisturizer, things of that nature. Do you have any recollection of whether Amber strayed from that and did not wear makeup during the week of May 21st, 2016? Melanie, no. Do you have any recollection that week of thinking, oh my goodness, Amber Heard isn't wearing any makeup this week? Melanie, no. Do you know what injuries Amber Heard as a result of the altercation with Johnny Depp on May 21st, 2016? Melanie, no. Okay, do you have a recollection of discussing what types of injuries she had? Melanie, well, I recall there was a phone incident. What day, I don't recall, if that's the day, but there was a phone incident, but I don't recall much. Okay, now you were asked by Ms. Vasquez about what you can do with makeup for swelling, and you said it's a little bit more difficult with makeup, and I think you indicated was another, other than bringing the swelling down. Do you recall that testimony? Melanie, yes. What do you mean by bringing the swelling down? Melanie, well, which means we can use an ice pack, or I can use an ice roller to kind of gently bring the swelling down. But as far as makeup is a little harder to cover an eye swelling. Okay, so there are things to do for swelling to bring them down, but it's not as easy to cover that up. It's better to treat it and bring it down. Would you agree? I'll ask that again. So do you know whether Amber Heard took any steps to reduce her swelling during this in preparation for the James Corden show? Melanie, yes. She took arnica, and we had arnica gel, and I always have arnica gel in my kit anyway, and she had arnica gel. She used arnica gel and some ice. And what does Amica, oh fuck. And this is where it starts. This is where it started. Elaine, and what does Amica gel do with respect to swelling? And no one corrected her. No one. It's gold. Melanie, bring swelling. Melanie's like, I'm a professional. You're a professional makeup artist, aren't you? Melanie, I use arnica gel in my kit to bring any swelling area of my client's face down. And how does that typically work? What's your experience? Melanie, it just brings the swelling down. I mean, not drastically, but it does. It helps with the swelling a little bit. Not bruising, Elaine, not immediate bruising, take away gel. It's not shame away, Elaine. It's not shame away. Okay, and you used that with Amber Heard in preparation for the James Corden show? Melanie, I don't recall if I used that specific arnica gel that day. I don't recall. Okay, thank you. You were asked about the April birthday party, and you understood that there was a fight that night after you left. Is that what your earlier testimony? Do you recall that? Melanie, I do. Okay. Do you know what injuries Amber sustained as a result of that fight on the birthday night? Melanie, I do not. Okay. Now you were asked some questions by Miss Vasquez about a couple of occasions. I think you said Venice, and I think you thought one was London, where you were with Amber and she was on the phone with Mr. Depp and they had some pretty significant fights. Do you recall that testimony? Melanie, yes. And Miss Vasquez asked you whether you could hear what Mr. Depp was saying on the other side, and I think you indicated that you could not. But you did testify to what Amber told you afterwards about what had transpired on the phone calls, correct? Melanie, correct. Okay. And was what you heard Amber saying on the phone consistent or inconsistent with what Amber heard told you later happened in the fights that she had with Mr. Depp on the phone? Melanie, correct. What? I'm sorry, I gave you one of those alternatives, so I didn't do a leading. Was it consistent or inconsistent with? Melanie, it was consistent. Okay, thank you. All right. Now you're going to ask a few times here whether you could recall seeing any injuries on Amber Heard the night of December 15th. So I'm going to ask Alex to bring up Exhibit 30. And you were asked some questions about this earlier by Miss Vasquez. And I thought it was interesting. Well, let me ask you this. I think you indicated that first you thought that this was a couple of years ago that you had given this. Is that correct? Melanie, correct. Okay, and then you made a reference where you said, I'm 44 years old in here. I hesitate to ask you your age, but how long ago would it have been if you were 44 years old at the time that you signed this? Melanie, 2.5 years. Okay, so 2.5 years ago would have been, if I'm doing my math right, you would have been sometime in 2000, early 2018. Melanie, All right. Now I'm just going to take you down this because you said everything in here, if I understand correctly, was correct except for the fact that you had gotten confused on the date of the Tribeca Film Festival. Is that correct? Melanie, correct. Okay. Well, what, if anything, was incorrect in this declaration other than the date of the meeting in January of 2015? Melanie, no. Nothing else was? Melanie, no. Okay, so I'm going to take that down. And as you said, you met Johnny Depp at the Penthouse sometime in 2015. Amber had casually invited me over and Johnny was there having his haircut. Oftentimes, when I visited Amber, Johnny was in the Penthouse minding his own business. On other occasions, I saw Johnny in an intoxicated state with a doctor who had come into his penthouse to check on him after Amber had tried, apparently unsuccessfully, to wake him. Now, at the time you wrote this, was an accurate and accurately reflected your memory. Is that correct? Well, this is new in this deposition. Melanie, yes, except maybe it was not on other occasions with an S. Only I saw Johnny once passed out, and it was not at the Penthouse. It was at the Sweetser house. Okay, thank you. And do you recall now, does this refresh your recollection that there was a doctor had come to the Penthouse to check on him? Melanie, no, not the Penthouse. Do you recall a doctor coming to the house to check on him after Amber had tried to apparently unsuccessfully to wake him? Melanie, I remember a doctor coming to the house to check on him after Amber had tried to... So she said, I remember Amber. I remember doing Amber's makeup and saying that Johnny had passed out and she tried to wake him up. And then the doctor came and it was two separate. The room was quite bit. I was in one room doing Amber's makeup and Johnny was in the other room passed out, or so she said. And I did see someone going in. Did that person need a doctor? Did he introduce himself? No. To me? No. Okay. Melanie, and that's what Amber told me. All right. So Miss Inglessis, I'm going to ask you to take a look at paragraph 6 here. And it says, however, I remember numerous conversations in which Amber would tell me that Johnny had abused me. Just about every conversation alternated between her love for him and the problem of his abuse. These conversations took place well before she divorced Johnny and got a restraining order against him. Was that your recollection at that time? Melanie, yes. The next line says, the first time, I'm sorry, I just got ahead of myself there. The first time I saw physical evidence of Johnny's abuse was before Amber was scheduled to appear on The Late Show with James Corden. Amber and I were supposed to go to bowling that night before, but Amber told me that she could not join me because she had been in a bad fight with Johnny. I came over to the Eastern Columbia building to apply makeup before her TV appearance, and as I walked into her kitchen, I saw writing on the countertop in gold marker. And then you attached the picture where that we looked at earlier. I also saw that number of Amber's possessions had been smashed or destroyed. Were these accurate statements at the time you signed this declaration? Melanie, yes. The next line is, when I saw Amber, I immediately noticed that she had a split lip and a bruise near her eye. I also saw there was a chunk of hair missing from her head. Amber had told me that Johnny had tried to suffocate her. What I'm going to, this is your declaration that you signed with the statement. Is that correct? Melanie, yes. Okay, now does this help refresh your recollection? On the first time you saw Amber, you immediately noticed that she had a split lip and a bruise near her eye. Melanie, the first time, maybe, yeah, I meant when she sat in my chair. Okay, and also, that was when you saw a chunk of hair missing from her head. Melanie, correct. All right, and then you also say down here, this is where I've asked you about before, after you finished applying her makeup and Adair finished Amber's hair, we all went to the studio for Amber's appearance on James Cordon. While there, Amber turned it on and hid the emotions that she had shared with us at the penthouse, as I have seen her act on numerous occasions and other occasions to prevent others from learning about her troubles with Johnny. What emotions had Amber shared with you at the penthouse? Melanie, I mean all the emotion we talked about earlier, from anger to sadness to, an area of emotion, hysterical, and then calm down, and then back to just up and down. Okay, and then it says, however, looking back on pictures of Amber from that appearance, I can still see where Amber was bruised and that Amber's lip had been injured. And you've testified, I just want to bring to your attention as we go through, let me ask you this. When you first saw Amber after the December 15th incident, what do you recall noticing the most? Melanie, can you rephrase the question? Miss Vasquez has asked a number of times whether you saw any injuries the first time you saw Amber after the December 15th battle, in which the bed was broken, the dragging across the floor, all these things. So what I'm asking now is, are you saying that Amber was not injured the first time you saw her and then suddenly she showed up with injuries the next day? Camille, okay, let me try to break this down. Assumes facts not on evidence, compound hearsay, misstates the witness testimony, lack of foundation, vague. Miss Inglessis, if you can make sense of that question, more power to you. Do you understand what I'm asking, asked Elaine? Melanie, all I can tell you, both of you, is that my recollection on that day of December 15th, I do not recall either there or not. I understand that it makes no sense for me to have covered injury on December 16th and not on December 15th. Why did I not see them on December 15th? I understand where you guys are going with it. I can only tell you what I recall with the truth of my heart. I do not recall having the injury. I don't recall the injury being, I don't recall much of December 15th, but I do recall covering injury December 16th. I don't say she did or she didn't have an injury on December 15th. I don't recall seeing them the way I saw and covered them and discussed with her on December 16th. That's my best. I understand that I don't make no sense. I get it, but this is my truth and this is how it is. I don't recall much December 15th. I don't recall, but I recall December 16th. Camille, I'm going to move to strike as non-responsive. Elaine, I think it's very responsive. Okay, Alex, you can take that down. I just have a couple of more questions. You were aware that Amber had to change her telephone number a few different times while you knew her? Melanie, yes, many times. That's actually a joke. I have her under 10 different aliases in my phone. I don't even know which one is which anymore. Okay, the last one. The last series I'm going to ask you. You were asked by Miss Vasquez whether your impressions of Mr. Depp changed after you became aware of his abuse and after Amber told you of what had happened after December 15th when you saw 15th, 16th, when you saw the injuries and following that. So I'm going to ask you to turn to Inglessis number 30. Sorry, she's like, no, 28, sorry. Miss Inglessis, I'm going to ask you to take a look at exhibit number 28. Does this reflect the impressions that you had of Mr. Depp as of July 31st, 2016? Melanie, yes. Thank you. I have no further questions, and we thank you very much for this. You have the right to read or waive. We're going to have to type it up. And they were done. Yeah, they're done. Ooh, I'm done. I am done with Melanie. That was a bunch of bullshit. She saw things. She didn't see things. She only knew of 3 incidences, but oh, look, she knew about Thanksgiving and she knew about the birthday and she knew about this, but she didn't know about Australia. Interesting. Very, very interesting. That's it. That's all. Have a great day, guys. I appreciate every single one of you. I love every single one of you. Just have a great day.